Hi, welcome to the THC show. My name is Neil Magnuson. I'm your host for the show. This is a show where we try to find some truths, we try to find some reason for hope, and some mechanisms for change. Today on the show, we'll have 8 out of 10 Glen, as always, for the 420 moment from CannaMatch.ca. Jerry Martin will be here to join us for the Martin Medical Moment. Very happy about that. And my guest today is Jared Applejohn, who's a long-time advocate for medical cannabis use, and he's going to tell us his story about how he got to be doing so much fine work and helping people gain access. So what's going on in the world today? Well, Trudeau is apologizing again, and well, he should, because he's breached ethic rules again. But really, the apology we're waiting for is yet to come, and he's going to have to suck it up and give us a good one, because this whole attempt to legalize cannabis the way that he's doing it is not right, is continuing to harm a lot of people, is punishing people for crimes that are not crimes at all. All the problems that we had with Prohibition before Trudeau's legalization, we've still got going on now. Yes, consumers of cannabis can have cannabis on their person and not get the same type of harassment that they got from the cops in the past. But anybody who's trying to grow cannabis for other people, grow more than the 4 plants that they're allowed for themselves, and certainly anybody who tries to sell cannabis is still being treated like they're a criminal. Using the criminal code against people that are doing that is obscene, it's horrific. A crime is when you intentionally cause significant harm to somebody else. It is a crime because you knew that you were going to cause that kind of damage to people. It is a crime because you acted even though you knew that what you were doing was going to harm people significantly. That's why a crime is not a nice thing. That's why a criminal is not a nice person. That's why we use the criminal law against people that do significant harm to other people. But here, not just in our country, but many other countries, they decided a while ago that they could make it a crime to do whatever they say that you're not allowed to do. And they completely diluted what a criminal is and what a crime means. To say that it's a crime to have possession of one of nature's plants when your only intent is to feel better and there's no victim of any sort, there was no contemplation of how breaking that rule was going to cause injury to somebody else, then that simply is not a crime. Never has been, never will be, no matter what they say. And to call it a crime completely undermines our justice system. It puts police lives at risk, causes great disrespect for law enforcement and government of all sorts. It brings all the other criminal acts and criminal laws into disrepute. So this has been a real travesty of justice going on for a very long time. There's a number of people that have dedicated their lives to trying to do something about that for a very long time. We have what we call cannabis activists, people that, like myself, I had to quit my job because I realized the depth of the harm being done by these unjust and corrupt policies. The attempt to prohibit the use of cannabis never had anything to do with cannabis actually harming people. It was never about victims of a dangerous, poisonous drug that people were getting involved with. It was never about any of that. The reason for cannabis prohibition is because of its utility, because of how valuable it is, because it's a better fuel source than certainly the fuel you have to drill out of the ground, but also any other plant that you want to use for fuel. Fuel is a commodity that's highly in demand, as you can appreciate in our world here. And when there's a source of fuel that is prohibited by the government, you got to look to see whether that's trying to protect the interests of those people that have other sources of fuel. And that's exactly what's going on. It was the Rockefellers back in the day that got a monopoly on fossil fuels and then got in a partnership with the Bayer Pharmaceutical company about making pharmaceutical, prescription type drugs for people. And all of that has corrupted our system greatly, because this is not a dangerous plant. This doesn't harm anybody. It's not even addictive. In fact, we're finding here that it's an exit off of addiction and out of addiction. This is an amazing medical tool for people. It's a great harm reduction tool for people that are living lives that are subject to risk. This is one of the best sources of fiber on the planet. This is one of the best sources of paper on the planet. This is one of the best sources of building materials on the planet. This is a great source for plastics. And all of it is being withheld from us and our society and our world because of corrupt governments working on behalf of corporate interests and the financial elite that want us to be consuming their products that are harmful and dangerous in most cases, certainly more harmful and dangerous than this. And they're the ones behind prohibition. And it's been corrupt for a very, very long time. I know that decades ago, people that had worked in the Justice Minister of Canada in their office had said that it's a subject that they don't breach. They're not allowed to talk about it in the Justice Minister's office because, as we mentioned before, this cannot be a crime. Can't be a crime to access some of nature's plants because you think it might help you feel better. That can't be a crime. So our Justice Minister has known that for a very long time. Our Prime Minister has known that for a very long time. All the Prime Ministers up to this point have all known that it's not a crime to have this. But because the United States and all of their muscles and their DEA, their Drug Enforcement Agency, the agency that enforces you to use alcohol and pharmaceuticals and commercial tobacco, that huge department of the U.S. government has enforced cannabis prohibition here in Canada and around the world. And all of those politicians that were in charge of that are all corrupt. They all know that this is not a crime, never should have been a crime, but they go along with it. And so they owe us a huge apology. Trudeau needs to get up and apologize to all Canadians and all people around the world for being a part of this. Here in Canada, we're supposed to be the voice of reason. We're people that are tolerant and patient and understanding, and that's what Canadians are all about. And yet our leadership at the top have maintained the prohibition against this plant to satisfy our U.S. neighbors and the corporate elite that want to make a bunch of money selling you products that are made out of their patentable stuff instead of accessing it through nature like we should have been. So Trudeau, yes, you should be apologizing, but you're still not apologizing for the right thing, and it's long overdue. The damage that's been done by the lies being told about what is one of the most beneficial plants on this planet are absolutely disgusting and have cost us so much. Families have been ripped apart because the young people, and now it's reversed. Now it's the old people know that cannabis isn't bad, and some of the young people are questioning it because the stigmatization is still out there. This so-called legalization that they brought in still stigmatizes cannabis users. They put a bunch of warnings on that overpackaged cannabis that they sell you in the government stores about this, that, and the next thing. You have to be 19 to access it. Hell, you can drive a car and enlist for the army at 16. So, all of these lies that we've been told for all this time that have kept people from understanding the truth about how cannabis can help them and help our planet, and that have kept cannabis away from people that need it for medical purposes, that were suffering with all kinds of different things, it is absolutely disgusting. The toll of the damage is near impossible to calculate. It is more than just about anything that's ever been perpetrated against us. The attempt to prohibit cannabis is one of the largest crimes against people in this world, our society, individuals, that has ever been perpetrated on anybody. And they are continuing to do it today. We'll talk about that a little later on in the show. For those of you who've been watching the show, we have our medical cannabis dispensary that we've opened up here in the face of the Cannabis Act and so-called legalization that doesn't include that. And today we got a letter from the city telling us to cease and desist our operations here. Well, that's not going to happen. The city just obviously doesn't realize. I had a conversation with the licensing manager today. I think I got him to understand a little bit about why we certainly would not be closing down our operations here, that we've moved indoors after 3.5 years of being outside, having people line up for hours through all kinds of inclement weather to access a little bit of cannabis high-dose edibles to help them in their lives and to help them get off of opioids. So when the city finally recognized the good that that was doing and passed a motion a year ago saying that they would license and allow low-barrier access to cannabis for the opioid crisis, we got on that immediately. We met with the city, we talked to them, we told them we will open up as soon as we can rent a place. We'll get our lineup moved indoors and not 2 days a week, but anytime they want to access, and so we don't have big lineups of people, and that we will demonstrate what low barrier access really means. And that's exactly what we're doing here in our medical cannabis dispensary, the Healing Wave, in a collaboration with the Cannabis Substitution Program. We are demonstrating what low barrier access really means. means. It means that you've got really good quality cannabis, because we consider ourselves a medical cannabis dispensary, and we don't want to be giving people swag weed or things that aren't proper to have as for medical cannabis. And it means that the prices are low, because otherwise you're priced out of the market. This whole legalization of cannabis that the government has perpetrated on us is absolutely unreachable for the daily users, and especially for the medical users who use large amounts of cannabis on a daily basis. Those prices are just unattainable for anybody that's not independently wealthy. So we need low barrier access, and that's what the city said that they would support. I had a good conversation with the man today. I think that they're going to help us in some way, but their position is that they will only license us if we can get a license from the provincial government. Well, we're not going to qualify for the provincial license for a non-medical government store. We're certainly not going to comply with any of the regulations that would entail, but we will try to go through a process of getting the provincial leaders on board with us, supporting us in what we're doing here, perhaps giving us some sort of an exemption or a license in a different category or something that will allow for the city of Vancouver to then permit us to be here. In the meantime, we got a 14-day cease and desist order that may or may not be enforced, but we'll cross those bridges when we get to them. And so far, and for the foreseeable future, and even despite any interference by government to try and stop us, we will continue to do what we're doing here. As I told him, we're not going to let bad laws stop us from saving people's lives. And I offered him to come here and spend some time here. I said, within an hour, you'll be in tears. Within an hour, you'll be a big fan of ours, and you'll want to help us help these people. We have people in here just like moments before the phone call. A person was in here talking about how he's not using crack anymore, because now he found that the high-dose edibles does it for him. He gets on his couch, he starts watching TV, he starts taking those gummy balls that were given there. By the end of the night, he's eating 100 milligrams of the gummy balls, and he's kind of slouched down more onto the floor than the couch, but he's not thinking about going and getting crack. He's living a life that's way more enjoyable than life on that path that you're on when you're after crack. And all of these people, any one of these people, is enough to justify what we're doing here. If we're only helping 1 in 20 of the people that we're giving high-dose edibles to, well, that's going to be, well, we got 200 people here, so that's like, that's 10 people, you know, 10 we help 10 people get off of hard drugs and save their lives. I'm quite sure the mothers and the fathers of those people, the brothers and the sisters, the uncles, the aunts, the nephews and nieces of those people whose lives we're saving, getting them off of that path of using those hard drugs and risking their lives every day, I'm quite sure that all of them would be more than happy to stand up for us and to speak on behalf of what we're doing here. And they all wish we were here early enough that their children and relatives and brothers and sisters could have been saved. But we've lost a lot of people to this pandemic, and what we don't need is government interference. What we could use is some government assistance. They were all there all over the COVID help. They got checks sent out to people. We found out we had a lot more money than we thought we had. We found out that there's ways of helping that we didn't think were possible. The government's always pleading poverty. They can't help the indigenous people with their needs. They don't have enough money. They can't help the poor people down here with their needs because they don't have enough money. But when it comes to actually needing money, well, they have it somehow, and they proved that. So now they need to use that and use the money that they have to help this other pandemic that in BC is far more serious than this other pandemic that they're talking about all the time that's getting the front news. I want to know where the daily updates are of the overdose deaths. Where is a government minister standing up? Where's Judy Darcy? Why isn't she having daily press conferences talking about the new deaths and the new problems that we're having with this overdose pandemic, the poison drug supply that's killing our sons and daughters here? Where is our daily updates? Why isn't that news all the time? They're talking about a safe drug supply. Well, the safe drug supply they're talking about are pharmaceutical drugs, so the pharmaceutical companies still keep making a whole bunch of money. They're not helping people get off of substances. They're helping people stay maintaining on substances that are still pharmaceutically based. They're not giving it to the people the way they want it. And what they're not recognizing is that cannabis high-dose edibles is the real safe supply that should be readily available for people. This needs to be an option for people, and a real easily accessible option for people. If people understood how high-dose cannabis edibles at the right dose can help them feel great, can offset the use of those other drugs that they have to chase all the time, they have to be afraid of withdrawal from, that they have to go through all the things they go through to get it. If they really understood how that can help them, then they would want to access it. And if they had easy, reasonable access to get it, then we'd have a lot less people struggling the way they are out there. And our government needs to get behind this. This is a community orchestrated operation that we have here. This is the cannabis community that's been stepping up for 3.5 years, donating all of their time, everything run by volunteers, and we've sustained it for 3.5 years. We now have 200 members that are here registered, that are providing us with updated information every time they get their 4-day supply. They get 420 milligrams of free high-dose cannabis edibles every 4 days. We're giving out 80,000 plus milligrams of high-dose edibles here every 4 days. And the government's doing nothing but sending us letters telling us to stop doing what we're doing, telling us that we can't do this if we don't get a proper license from them. And they won't give us a proper license until we get one from the province. And the province won't give us one because we're not doing it according to the Cannabis Act. Well, this is all bullshit and it's all nonsense and people are dying, god damn it. So, you know, get out of our way if you're not going to help us. Don't be setting up roadblocks for us because we're going to wipe them right out and run right over them. But get behind us and help us. You want to be seen as being responsible government and being seen as helping a real serious pandemic? Help us doing what we're doing. Don't send us letters threatening us and scaring us. That was the 419 warning, by the way. So roll them up. You got less than a minute. Probably got them all rolled. I know you people. My audience is prepared. You know all about it. How you doing, Glenn?
Good. How you doing, Neil?
Didn't even introduce you.
Oh, that's all right. They all know
8
me.
out of 10 Glenn. CannaMatch.ca comes and visits us every week here for the 420.
What about doing what Ted Smith is doing? Getting that special exemption from the Solicitor General.
Let's try that.
Hey,
let's try that.
Maybe because you just need the province to be on, or the city, which he's got Victoria on their side. You've got Vancouver, so maybe you could do it that way.
Yep, we're gonna try that. Absolutely, this is our next step. I mean, we felt that if we opened and did what we were doing, the city would probably come and talk to us, and they have. And he basically said, you know, there's options on enforcement. And if you're going through the proper procedure with the province to try to get, you know, their approval, then, you know,
we'll leave you alone.
We'll work with you for a while. So, you know, we're definitely going to do that as best we can.
Yeah.
We want to. I kind of like having an illegal pot store. That's fun. I don't know what it's like to have a legal pot store that's actually the way that we want it.
New title for the show: The Illegal Pot Show. I
want to have a legal pot store that is exactly this.
Yes.
Where they're not throwing up any obstacles about how we can help people.
See, we got some edibles.
We got some edibles from Mary J's. Mary J's Edibles. She sent us this actually a week ago, and I was supposed to give them out on the show. I didn't do that. I forgot.
We could give something to Carly. She's here.
Well, Carly, she's got an inside track on these things. I could give some to my guest, but he's kind of got an inside track on these things too. You, me, and Neil, we all got inside tracks on these things.
CSP so. Then, right?
I want this to go to people that are going to be happy to get it. That are, you know, it's going to really make a difference in their life. That's the whole idea. When she's baking this stuff, and when other people are baking stuff like this, there's a lot of love that goes into it.
Oh yeah.
They're doing it with the understanding that they're helping people in profound ways. And I want to help her do that. I want to help these people get that stuff out there. Heather Pratt.
Caramels.
I was going to bring them up on the show. Heather, thank you so much. I don't have them here to show, but a beautiful bag of caramels that I gave to our CSP volunteers down there, and they're including in what people get to choose.
Yeah, I sent her a picture of where you put them.
Oh, did you? Okay, good.
I did.
Thanks, Heather. She's helped us out a number of times.
And that, you know, talking about love, she puts a lot of love in her stuff too.
Exactly.
I'm trying a lot of her. I ate a cornflake cereal bar last night. Oh boy!
So that's
slept
something.
3 hours extra this morning.
Nice.
I know, that's what I told her. Usually I'm up at 5. It was like 8:08 before I woke up this morning.
Who's helping me out with this now? You guys at home gonna help me out with that? There you go. You can take it. There you go. That's just the guy at home grabbing that.
I love the shirt. Yeah, that's why people have been smiling at my shirt.
I got one of these from who's that from you?
I got you that.
Nice.
Yeah, from Carly. She was selling them on Cannabis Day. So
those are awesome. It's just too hot up here to wear.
Yeah,
right
and you know what? It looks like August 1st we'll have to wear our jerseys.
Yeah, August 2nd.
Is it August 2nd?
August 2nd.
August 2nd was our first game. I
Our
know that they
first game.
start. So
It's a Sunday night.
it's a Sunday night.
7:30.
There we go.
Not that I'm keeping track or anything.
No, we not that I'm keeping track either. I think I'll be at your house.
It's going to be strange. You know, are they going to play the music? They put some rock and roll on while they're playing, or what are they going to do? There's no crowd noise.
I've seen some stadiums using soundtracks.
Putting
so
in
they
like
score,
crowd noise, yay!
Yeah, the flashing in the horn.
So, but if the other team's like, who's the home team? You know, like they're all being played in Edmonton and Toronto.
We all clap no matter what.
I'm not clapping if the other team scores in a playoff game.
They have to be fair. They have to be fair. So if it's Boston, they'll have a Boston track.
No. It doesn't have to be fair. It's got to be consistent. And with the tradition of hockey, is somebody's got home ice advantage.
Okay.
So one of those two teams on the ice is playing a home game, even though there's no fans in there.
Well, the Vancouver guys would
if
be louder.
If they're gonna pump in a soundtrack, the goals that the home team scores, they got to get a big cheer, and there's got to be some other not so good cheers going up when the other team scores. Silence, the other team gets 2 goals ahead. Silence.
Yeah, but doesn't the other team? They don't get the horn.
They don't get the
home team always gets the horn.
Exactly.
Right? There we go. Right?
And that's how you know
when we score. Right. So there we go. Right,
I hope the NHL is listening to this. If we're gonna have like piped in fake sound, let's do it right.
Yeah, let's do it right. Right, and then be on the ball and who the home team is playing. Because even though they're playing just in Edmonton and Toronto, we're gonna need to know who's away and who's home.
So I got a comment to make about this whole thing. I mean, I take some flack. I mean, I've had friends defriend me because they think I'm not afraid, or I'm telling people not to be afraid of the virus. Be afraid of the fucking virus. If you got the virus like increasing in cases around where you are living, be fucking careful. Don't be getting close to people. Don't put your hands near your face. Wear masks if you can. But here in BC, we don't have that issue because I recognized that early on. I was watching the numbers really close. Like, holy shit, this is really important to me. I live here. I don't want to be living in a pandemic with everybody having to live in fear. The numbers came right down after the first 3 weeks to a month, and we got them down and we kept them down. There's really been nothing other than just maybe a week ago there was 8 new cases in Kelowna that they tracked really quick. They found them really quick, and of course that's what we can do now. So until there's significant evidence that there's new cases in the communities, we at least don't need to wear the masks if you don't want to. That's my only point. But what I got to say about this whole NHL thing, I think they're irresponsible. I don't think that they should be having the games. I think that they're going to encourage groups of gathering in these places of hotspots. Many of these cities that have teams representing them, they've got large outbreaks going on every day there. They should not be allowing it. And so I think it's a bad thing. How do you keep the people out of the streets if you win the Stanley Cup, for fuck's sake?
True.
Is the Stanley Cup going to now make 50,000 more people sick and 5,000 people dead as a result?
Let's put it this way. But when we've been on the streets, people have been wearing masks. Look at the last
I wasn't.
protests.
Yeah, some do, some don't.
Yes. So
there's people out there in BC.
It would be better than in somebody's home watching the game.
But there's going to be that too.
Yes,
there's going to be groups in people's homes. There's going to be bars that are open. There's going to be people in the streets. I think it's irresponsible that they shouldn't be doing it, because if it was just in BC, fine. Because there's nothing here to worry about that's been evident. But it's not just in BC. And these other cities that have teams there, I don't think it's right to have them get those people all excited. If they could all stay isolated at home by themselves, and that's what they were doing, and then they could have it to watch on TV, that's great. But that's not all that's going to happen. There's going to be people gathering in groups where they shouldn't be, because it's very clear that in those places where it's prevalent within the community, it doesn't take much of a group getting together before it's spread through there. It's a very contagious thing. So that's my position on that. I love hockey. I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to boycott it. But I really think it's irresponsible for them to be doing. I know it's a bunch of millionaires that have great leverage, that want to keep the money flowing, and they want to get playing, and they're doing everything they can to do that. But I think it's going to result in people dying, and so therefore I don't think they should do it. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Some people are going to hate me for that now too. You can't.
But that's just because we all have opinions, right?
I know.
It's just opinions.
It's dangerous to have an opinion these days. Whatever it is, you're going to be put on an extreme. They don't allow middle ground for opinions. That you're going to be either an anti or a pro. And I hate it all. That was my biggest thing. That's what I was saying. It was losing me friends. Was that my biggest issue is how divisive this is, and that lost me friends.
It's their loss.
You know?
It's their loss, not yours, though.
Well, it's my loss too. You know, I mean, there's
Yes.
people that I cared about. I'm sorry. Everybody takes things differently, right?
Yeah.
We're all different.
Yeah.
I understand that they've got a different way of looking at things, and that's how they are. And I can't say I'm right or
I'm
they're
all
wrong.
friends, yeah.
I mean, if I mean, maybe they're the ones who are going to survive, and I'm going to die because I'm not wearing the mask, and they are. I mean, even though it's just at home by yourself in
I'm
bed.
about to do that trip to Ontario. I'm a little worried. So I've already told myself that I'm not going to any malls or
Stay away from crowds.
inside places.
Right.
I'm going to hang out with the cannabis community that already knows me and I already know them, and just keep myself in my Airbnb and in my car, bring my own car. So I'll meet people across Canada to smoke divvies with, because that's what we do.
It's fairly easy to stay safe.
Yeah.
In those areas that have the outbreaks. Just stay away from groups.
Yeah.
That's where you're not putting your hands near your mouth, and I don't know about the mask. I know the mask helps, and I'm sure people are safer with them and keeping other people safer because of them. Well,
that's what they're saying.
I don't know. I don't believe that. I think that. I mean, I know that because you're breathing in through wherever the little air is getting in there, and the mesh itself isn't big enough to isn't small enough to catch the virus in this case. I've heard all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that there's probably some percentage of safer if you're
Oh.
wearing it. I felt that way. I've had the N95 mask.
Somebody said to me a little while ago, 1.5 million people a year die of tuberculosis, but yet we're not wearing masks for that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay, so
and my point is that for those people that want to wear masks to protect themselves from TB or any of the other things that could come along, that's fine. Yeah, that's their business. That's their business. Nothing to do with me.
And I'll respect it.
I don't like it when our governments and the media too are really playing in and playing up the whole fear thing where it's not necessary. I'm on the wrong side of it. I know that. Better safe than sorry, right? But fear is a big thing. I mean, that's because I'm here, right? Because I'm on the downtown east side, because I had lineups twice a week right through the pandemic. I recognize the damage that fear does to people.
Oh, I know.
And that's a big part of it. So we needed to try to balance that. And there were several things to keep balanced with the pandemic. There's the economy. How hard does the economy have to fall before it starts killing people?
Yeah.
I mean, there's suicides. There's people losing their homes. There's all sorts of marital problems when the money gets tight.
Yeah.
I mean, the economy hurts and kills people when it goes down.
We'll be
Fear,
years.
just the fear itself is so debilitating for some people. So, there's a lot to be concerned about. I have opinions. I have a platform. I try to be responsible with those opinions. It seems that some people take what I say not the way that I intended them, but I try to be clear as to how I'm saying and what I'm saying.
Things, right?
But, we live in a fragile world no matter what. Before COVID, this was a fragile world. It always is.
I think, have you ever seen the movie Oh God with George Burns?
Sure have.
George Burns said if everything was all perfect, we would be bored.
Yeah,
if there was everybody who would agree with you, you would be bored because there would be nobody to inspire you to think outside of your own
How
box.
long do you be in heaven before you have a bad day, or how many good days in a row do you have before you don't even know you're having good days?
Are there bad days in heaven?
I mean, and isn't it much more about a personality thing than anything else? I mean, some people are just happy with their lot in life, no matter what it is. I mean, I've been so inspired by people that have so many obstacles in front of them for living a life, and yet they live it happily, And yet other people, you see that they've really got so much that they, you do a daily thankful for. Yeah. Well, some people have so much to be thankful for, and yet they're not, because it's just a personality thing. Yeah. So I think you take these same personalities and you put them into heaven, they're going to find shit to complain about.
Yes.
And some of those other people, hell is no worse than what they've been going through anyway, and they're going to be smiling their way through that and just pissing the devils off. So, I don't know. None of it makes much sense to me. I say live in the moment, have as much fun as you can.
I say live with what's right in front of you, right? Not the what ifs, could be's, or whatever, I'm
a moment guy. I like to be in the moment as best I can. And have fun planting seeds for the future and planning things, but not if it's fear-based. I don't like fear-based stuff. No. I think love is how we got here, and love is how we should live here.
Compassion.
We all got here because two people loved each other enough that they mixed fluids enough that here we are, And so life on this planet is love-based, and I think the way to live your life is love-based as well. So anyway. Love and fear, but you're never going to get it all because it's not perfect here, as you say. It's not heaven here.
Nope.
It's yin and yang.
Yeah.
And it actually.
And even though you love prairie hockey, you're still a little bit sad that they're playing.
Oh,
right?
I'm
there you go, right?
I'm concerned.
Yes, yeah.
I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I want hockey.
I want hockey, but do we want them
I
to
want
get
normal
sick?
life. I don't want this virus to be, escalating the way it is in the U.S.
Yeah.
and some other places.
We don't know if that's going to happen. And if it was, why is it not happening already?
What's that?
The escalations like the U.S. Because we're not getting any of that.
Well, we're not getting it because it's not here.
Much bigger population.
We're not getting it because it's not here.
Yeah.
It only has we don't catch it off of hard surfaces anyway, but it can live in a laboratory setting on hard surfaces for 3 fucking days.
Yes.
Okay?
This is not a laboratory.
Anybody that thinks they have it, if they isolate for 14 days, it's gone.
Yeah.
So we all did that here in BC. That is what we all did. We left alone all those surfaces. We all stayed fucking home. Almost everybody. The streets were empty. We all did what we needed to do, and it isn't here anymore. It all died on the surfaces. Everybody got isolated that needed to, and the numbers were clear because they kept testing people. Right, the testing increased. The people they were testing was anybody who called 811 to say I got a sore throat or I'm not feeling good.
Yep.
So and people were all nervous if they weren't feeling good. So they're all calling that number. So they're testing everybody that thinks they might have it. They're testing everywhere in the community that they think it might have been. They're testing all the care homes like fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And alls we got was a handful of cases in the care homes, in a few care homes, because of how that was spreading with the workers that were going back and forth and shit. But in the communities, there was no new cases. So that should be a big sigh of relief. Let's everybody still be careful about people coming in from out of town.
Yes.
That's where the government now really needs to focus on.
Yeah.
Is what do we do with people coming in here from not just the States, but also even other parts of Canada, Quebec and Toronto and what have you. And maybe they will.
Now, you think since so many people in the States have got it, they might have less of a second wave?
Oh man, they're not done their first wave because they're stupid.
Because they keep saying
they're divided.
Wave, right?
They're free people. They got a constitution.
The herd mentality, right?
Well,
so all this herd got it, right? And maybe they'll have a less of one.
They might be in less danger than us for some second wave down the road.
Exactly.
We don't even know. They don't know a lot about this particular. This is a new one.
Yeah.
And it's a generational thing. It's once in a generation that something like this happens. That's so serious, and we don't know lots about it yet. We're still finding out. We don't know where the end of the path through the forest is, or what's on the other side of the fucking forest.
And we won't know whose opinion's right till we get to the other side.
But we are getting more and more able to detect bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
And so there's agendas going on. Whether or not those agendas started right off the bat or not. And had something to do with this, I'm not sure, or whether they're just being seized upon. There's a lot of groups that are seizing upon what's going on here and saying, well, here's an opportunity. Now we can really control the people. Now we can really scrutinize them. Now we can really collect data on them. All these other things are happening.
Price gouging in Ontario for masks.
And that kind of stuff,
that's because the government made it mandatory, right? To wear masks in all inside places and stuff like that. So,
crazy.
Yeah, it's another price gouging.
Well, we had a session.
Yes, we did. Thank you very much.
All right, and so
we'll
CannaMatch.ca if you want to find someone that you want to smoke weed with and share some
or
of
you
your...
want to date.
Or not too.
There's a lot of cannabis smokers out there.
They don't keep you from dating.
Puff on that. See you later, sir.
All right, I got this. Oh, you want that?
Yeah, I want that.
Was that yours?
Yeah, that was.
Take it away.
I'll give you this. So.
I don't need it.
Right. See you later.
Thanks, Glenn. All right. It's funny how the universe works. You start a show and then 20 minutes later you get to have a 420 session for 10 or 15 minutes, and that's probably a great way to set up the rest of the conversation there. You want to come in right away, do you?
Well, you wanted to wait?
Well, I don't know. Sure, you can come in. I already, now the audience knows you're there. We broke the curtain. You're here already. Jerry Martin. Jerry Martin was a dispensary owner in Saskatchewan. We have this segment of the show where we talk about the pursuit of medical rights through storefront dispensaries for people. And Jerry's kind of the poster boy for that. So we call this the Martin Medical Moment. Jerry had a dispensary in a small town, Whitewood, Saskatchewan, for 4 years. And about 3.5 years ago now, after getting a letter from Health Canada, like the letter we got today, telling us to not because this is from the city, but Health Canada sent out a letter to dispensary owners telling them to stop doing what they're doing. which is absolutely, completely obscene. Want to see? Yeah, we got a letter today. You read the letter? So they sent Jerry a letter saying stop helping people. Well, yeah, that's a reasonable thing for your government of public servants to ask, isn't it? You got 1,000 people that are using what you're providing to them for medical purposes, like they're hurting people, and you've been helping them, even though the government has not got a program that allows people to get access for medical purposes to this one amazing herb that helps them better than most other medications do. And so you're helping 1,000 people, and then the government tells you to stop. What are you going to do? Do you really think in a small town in Saskatchewan you're going to be able to like tell Mrs. Friesen there that you can't help her even though she's crying because you know the government, these fucking public servants, have told you that you can't help Mrs. Friesen anymore? You know, is that what you're going to do? You're going to, is that what you can do, Jerry? You can tell Mrs. Friesen, you know? So he kept selling to Mrs.
Tell them they must have rang the wrong number.
They did. They got the... They're probably watching. We're not going to tell them what's not right, but something's not right on this particular piece of paper here. As usual. Maybe on purpose. Who knows? But anyway, no, the point is that being a dispensary owner is a very unique position to be in. Even though many people that open dispensaries here in Vancouver, some of them, did it simply to jump on the gravy train because you were able to make a bunch of money doing that. It doesn't take very long, and it didn't take very long for these people that were money motivated to really become patient oriented, because you get to hear the stories of people who you're helping every day. You get to meet people and look in the eye and see face to face as they describe to you how what you're providing to them is changing their lives and helping them live a normal life. So it's a very unique position to be in there. And for a government, a corrupt government who for years has been criminalizing the distribution of this medicine to people, tells you to stop doing that. That's an impossible thing to ask. It's just it's cruel and unusual to ask somebody to do that. Absolutely. So Jerry continued on helping people until the RCMP came and took away his stuff and arrested him and charged him, and that was 3.5 years ago now, and he still hasn't had his day in court. Oh yeah, I want this thing here. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry to just talk on. You know, with
sorry,
you.
go ahead.
I try to do this explanation every time for all the new viewers to understand what's going on here. That so Jerry's now been having this hang over his head for about 3.5 years of them putting him in jail. That's what they're threatening him with. That's what they've been threatening him with all along. And the forfeiture of all of the properties and money that they took from him. Jerry was a businessman, had several other businesses as well, and gave back so much to the community of the profits coming from the medicinal cannabis dispensary that he operated. And they seized all of his stuff. And so he's had that hanging over his head for all this time. And it's been a hell of a roller coaster with not much ups, really. I don't think there's been too many ups. The only up...
No, not a whole lot.
The only ups is that they haven't got you yet,
Yeah.
I guess. But that's not really much of an up because you don't like the fact that, you know, it's probably going to happen. You'd like to get it over with if it is going to happen.
But I don't think it's going to be over with.
Not for a while.
No, even if I win, I don't think it's going to be over with. Then they'll appeal, and then they'll charge me criminally like they did to Sean.
Just play it as a game, Jerry.
Yeah.
I love you, brother, so much.
Every day.
It is so wrong and easy for me to be able to tell you that you just need to keep persevering here and play it as a game, when I know that it's a personal thing that has a lot of different sides to it, and you know, it's not easy. I've watched it be not easy, man. I don't know what to say to you.
Nobody can watch it anymore.
Yeah, you've removed yourself a little bit from
they removed me again.
They removed you. They removed you. I see. Well, they can watch you here.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's another case that has some very good positives to it, but it also had some negatives to it that didn't make you feel very good, right?
Yeah.
And that's was it Sarah Mcneil?
Yeah. So yeah, it's good for them. You know, worked out well.
Well, the judge.
Sort of. I feel bad for Sean though, and now he's going to go
because
through that
they're
again.
still pursuing criminal charges against the person that was at the heart of the thing, and that's what you're concerned about. Is that even if you win the constitutional challenge, which this has given a lot of fuel for you to be able to win that, right?
In some regards. And
oh
some
man,
not.
for them to say that people have a constitutional right to that storefront medical access, I think that that's got to. It certainly doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't hurt
for
sure. But we've seen them ignore that many times already.
Yeah.
No.
So we'll see what happens on that. But I don't know. We'll see what happens on all of it, right? We have to just see what happens on all of it. And
we have a meeting in August.
okay, so that's something new.
Yeah, so we'll find out.
August is close.
Yeah.
And you're meeting with who? The
But
prosecutor?
he says it could be another year.
Is the prosecutor you get to meet with?
No, well, I don't. Paul's going to talk to him,
Paul's going to talk with the prosecutor, eh?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's enough evidence now that they should completely drop it and give you your stuff back and issue an apology, and then we'll see what happens with compensation.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen,
That's
Jerry.
a good dream.
That's a good dream. Would you like that if that happened?
That would be nice. Man.
Well, then
well, kind of. I'd like
you
to
have to admit to me that that's a possibility.
I don't know if it's a possibility.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
No?
No, they're pretty stubborn.
I think it's a possibility.
They're pretty stubborn out there.
Things are changing.
Yeah, things are changing.
It's a changing world on lots of different fronts. Yeah. And this whole pursuit for medical access to cannabis.
We've asked them a few times about if they would, and they said absolutely not. They will not.
Well, but they just lost a pretty big ruling there.
Yeah, but that was Alberta.
It still has a lot of weight to it.
And I've talked to it does.
It has some weight to it.
But I've talked to Paul about precedents the other day, and nothing is in Saskatchewan.
Right.
So,
but you know,
it certainly helps though.
I think Paul's probably a good debater.
Yeah.
And I think he's got a lot of ammunition, and I think they've got very little ammunition. That you know, this is a lot of taxpayer money that's been spent here.
Yeah, Saskatchewan doesn't have a whole lot.
Your file is thick. Yeah. You know, there's been a prosecutor on your case for all these 3.5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a couple of
how many court appearances? 40 some?
40, yeah. I think 40 or 41. Yeah.
And still no ability to really get before a judge and say, Your Honor, where's the victim?
Yeah.
You know? Here we got a bunch of evidence that we were helping people. The medical information that's come along since that over the last 3.5 years.
Yeah, lots more studies out now, which is good.
Lots
more stuff saying it's good. So.
You had problems in Whitewood, Saskatchewan with hard drug use?
Yeah, they've got big problems now.
And it increased when their dispensary was closed down. Yeah. We know that's true.
Yeah.
You know, the studies by Dr. Malloy out of UBC, based some of it on the research done to do with the Cannabis Substitution Program and what the OPS is doing, absolutely is clear that cannabis is an exit drug and an exit strategy for people that are involved in those hard drugs. I mean, you were doing God's work against corrupt forces, and they should just go away and compensate you, man. I'll tell you.
Man. That's right.
I mean, the only reason you don't think it's as big a possibility as me is because you've lost faith in our system.
A long time ago.
You know, you recognize how corrupt the system is.
Well, it is. It's super corrupt.
It's super corrupt.
And when they just change the law again, they don't get their way. Right?
They keep coming at us.
Yeah.
So, but
it is somewhat legal now.
We're winning.
Progress. So.
We're winning.
Yeah.
We're winning.
Yeah.
We are. We're winning.
We are winning, I guess.
We are winning. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's a battle. There's lots of different areas of battle. Not everybody's winning all the time yet. But we passed a tipping point quite a while ago with the media, with the stories that are coming out of the media, and like you say, with the studies that they have to report on, that's happened. The court of public opinion has really tilted quite a bit in our favor over the last decade, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For sure. So I think it's becoming more and more that the emperor is looking pretty naked, that they really don't have justification on their side other than, you know, that was the law and you broke the law.
All right. Yeah, no, it's clearly corporate run for sure. It's money
and it's
influence.
Clearly corrupt.
It's not patient first.
Absolutely not patient first. The whole government scheme for monopolization or legalization, call it either one, they both don't fit and do fit, is that it's all about money over people. You walk into any of those government stores, I mean, you would think you were in a high-end boutique. They got not even fancy, but they kind of like, it's minimalist, but it's expensive, You know, they got the ceramic bongs there. They're just this one color, just one shape. You know, they're shiny, and they're $160. You know.
Up in Cultus Lake, there's an 8-room one though. It's not LP spritzing ass when I walked in, but I ate some papers.
Yes, our First Nations people have been doing great work.
Yeah, it looks real
in
nice
many
in there.
different, you know, battle zones of what they're doing.
And real good prices in there too.
Also here in White Rock, they've got the one that's there. There's others I've heard about. Pat Warnicki is involved with a number of different groups that are making good things happen. That's another front where we should win. That you know, our First Nations people don't need to be bullied by our federal government with respect to how they heal their people. And if they decide they want to have a medical cannabis dispensary and make some money, the government doesn't need a hand in that.
Yeah.
We got this issue here too. You know, we're going to have the government trying to get tax money out of us. And we're not going to tax these people for helping them get off of opioids. And we don't think the government deserves a cut on that. Like, so we're going to have that argument. I hope they're going to be on the right side of it. I want the government to be a good government. I want them not to be corrupt. I want them to do the right thing here. And so that I'm optimistic. Maybe I'm a fool, but I'm optimistic that I'm going to be able to have discussions with these public servants, and they're going to see reason and not implement barriers and obstacles for us being able to help people the way that we're able to help them. And taxation is going to be one of those things for sure.
Yeah, it's too bad you got that letter. I thought they would have been a little more
nicer. He was okay on the phone, right? This was generated by Kimberly, who came here. She does rounds of the city to just walk the blocks and see what's what and if there's anything that's not right. And so she came in here and she's like, oh, I see that this is a cannabis store and you don't have a license. I said, no, we don't. But I explained to her that, you know, we had sat down with the counselor that got that motion passed unanimously, that she understood that the way this was going to work was that we were going to find a storefront and move our project indoors, thankfully, and that we were going to then incorporate that with a low barrier access cannabis dispensary, because that's what her motion spoke to, and that when we could demonstrate to her that that's what we're doing, then they would license us. So Kimberly came in and I explained that to her, and she said, well, I'm going to have to talk to my boss about this. And so now, instead of the boss coming and meeting me, they sent us this letter, and they say basically you're in contrary to the city's stance that every business must have a license, and no, you don't have one, and so you got 14 days to stop.
And that was as of June 24th?
This is as of July 13th. Okay. Well, that was where they came in the first time.
From the letter, huh?
Yeah. So I would say from July 13th.
So you got to the 27th.
We got till welfare, the day before Welfare Wednesday. So on Welfare Wednesday, we should close our doors, and all those people that have some money, they shouldn't be able to come here and get therapeutic cannabinoids from responsible vendors. They should be forced back out on the street to purchase whatever they can find to deal with their issues there. And that's what the city thinks is a reasonable thing to do. Well, I ain't doing it. I'll lay down in front of that bulldozer anytime. And, you know, we're going to stand up for the people out there that need access to what we're doing here. And so, you know, I mean, that prompted me a call to Kimberly, who finally puts her phone number on here. The one she gave us originally on her card just got me the main operator there. But so I got to call her today, and I spoke with her, and she agreed that I needed to talk to her manager. So Mark, the manager there, I don't know if anybody wants to call Mark and tell him how much this place is important. I'm not sure we want to do that. I don't know. I want to have a good relationship with the city. I'm not saying call him and give him a hard time, but I am going to tell you what happened. And that is that, you know, I had a conversation with him as two reasonable adults, and I discussed with him the dynamics of how we got to be where we are and why we think this is the right thing to do and the right place to be. And he said from his point of view, from the city's point of view, we need to have the authorization from the province to do what we're doing before the city will give us a license to do what we're doing. So we need to be in process with the province to get authorization. Well, obviously, we don't don't and won't comply with the way the province is rolling out the legalized version of government stores, the non-medical stores. So we are going to have conversations with Mike Farnworth, the minister, and with the Bonnie Henry, and hopefully Judy Darcy, if she's still doing the addictions ministry. Haven't heard anything from her. She's the one I'd like to have, daily updates from. If she's in the addictions ministry still, I'm not sure. I've heard so little from them. I don't even know. It's crazy. But we are going to have conversations with those people. We've already written letters. The board of the Serious Hope Society has already written letters to Bonnie Henry and to Minister Farnsworth about this store and what we're doing here, and looking for some approval from them. So we'll continue to pursue that. And the city Mark seemed to say that as long as we're doing that, they're going to be satisfied with that being in process, and that for now that 14-day order will stand, but enforcement is subject to flexibility. And so, we want to work with them, and we want to get a license to do what we're doing. We want the province to authorize not just us, but other people to do what we're doing here. This needs to be available for people. People need to have therapeutic cannabinoids that are affordable and of proper quality and in the full range of what people need to have for their different needs of methods of ingestion and things that they're dealing with. This needs to be here like this all over the place. This issue is not just here. Last week they had 94 overdose calls in Saskatoon, a new weekly record for them. And this is happening in large and small communities all across Canada. And this is what needs to be in all of those places. There needs to be easy access to cannabis, in edibles form especially, but in all of its forms. And that will save lives. That will save our sons and daughters and our brothers and sisters if we can do that. So yeah, we're hopeful that this is the process and this is how you do it. And the city's gonna let us go through that process. I see that Mark did send me a link with the information to go through the process with the city with the province rather, about getting that permission from them. And obviously it's going to have to be something different than what a non-medical government store would have. And that's fine. We need to have a category that includes this. And the courts have said so too. It might be in Alberta, but that has weight everywhere.
Well, they've said so here as well.
Yeah, and certainly all the studies are saying the same thing. This has to happen. The city needs to help us have this happen. If the province can get on board, the city will get on board, and then more of this can happen, and it's the right thing to do. So that's what I know about that. What else should we chat about briefly, Jeremy?
We're working away.
Okay.
Working away on the new thing.
And you're okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
All right.
Good.
I love you, brother.
Love you too.
Come back and tell us one way or the other what goes on, and let's do this together.
Yeah.
You are not alone, although you alone can feel what you feel because it's your movie going on. But we're supporting cast, and we want to be that. We want to help you in any way we can. You can see the outpouring anytime we put it out there about how you're feeling and stuff. That there's a lot of us, and there's a lot more. The government will tell you that for every one person that actually takes the time to write a letter or say something and stand up and say something, there's quite a few people in behind there that feel the same way, but they just didn't take the time or don't have the time or won't take the time, whatever, right? There's a lot of people following what you're doing, care about what you're doing. I still think that you're going to win the day, and it's going to be monumental, and there will be good precedent set, and it will pave the way for the return of what we're doing in profound ways. So that's what I think you're working on. And I've seen you work on shit, and I can't think of anybody I'd rather have working on shit than you. I know it ain't an easy road to hoe, but brother,
making lots of progress with the new thing.
You make shit happen. You always make shit happen. So I'm counting on you. We're all wanting to help you. We all want to be a part of this. We want to make this happen, and we're happy to be having you help us make this happen. So, right on, brother. All right. I'll kick you out of here. Have a great day. Have as much fun as you can. Come back and visit anytime. And I don't just mean on Tuesdays. It's very interesting times we're living in, isn't it? And we'll see how this all shakes down the road, but big things are changing all the time. This has been going on for a while here. The whole movement to have medical dispensaries that started over 20 years ago with the Compassion Club, and then resulted in other clubs starting, and to the point where we had about 180 clubs, and then the city decides to regulate, which is code for put almost all of them out of business, and bully them and oppress them in ways that no other businesses ever have to deal with. And so that happened, and most of them all disappeared, and now we got a new wave where there's about 20 new dispensaries that are illegal that are just popping up in different places, and I imagine they're getting their letters too. Where did Jerry take my letter with him? I don't know either. He might have taken my letter. No, here it is. Here it is. I hid it on myself. But yeah, I imagine they're all getting letters like that, and we'll see what they can do in their pursuit of allowing the city to not to send in the cannabis crew. But one of the guys who's been doing a lot of work for the last couple of years here in trying to facilitate behind the scenes is Jared Applejohn. And Jared is a fine young man that had his issues with health because of life choices and life paths, and he's wanted to give back because cannabis has helped him profoundly in his life, and so he's been doing that for quite a while, and he's been helping us here. And I want to bring him into the show here and find out from him a little bit about how he got to be where he is and who he is and where he thinks we're going with all this. So I think he's in the studio. Jared, come on in here, man. I'm sorry you got to bend down. We have low headroom here, so that's what's going on when we're stupid in and stupid out. We're not really stupid in and stupid out, but we're stooped on the way in and out. So we try not to be stupid in and stupid out anyway. How you doing, brother?
Good.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Well, warm days, beautiful here in Vancouver.
Yeah, can't complain. It's been a lot of wet since summer started, so it's kind of nice to get out of spring. And
I see. So, where were you born?
Well, I guess you'd call me local. I mean, I was born in Prince George, and
that's not really local, but it's BC.
Yeah, I spent the first year in Prince George, and then White Rock, Langley, Fraser Valley.
Where'd you go to school?
Went to Semiahmoo for my graduating year.
So White Rock area,
yeah,
South Surrey.
Yeah, and went to school in Langley, and went to Sunrise Ridge Elementary.
All right.
Yeah.
What kind of parenting did you have? What were your mom and dad like?
Well, parenting was great. I mean, I grew up in the outdoors, a lot of fishing and camping and that type of thing, and you know, that's where my love for life really stems from, right? But you know, I also grew up with parents that were, you know, very legal with everything and their points.
Were they religious?
And, not per se, not religious. Okay. They were more spiritual in the way they dealt with
were they hippies?
with things. No, they're cops.
They're cops?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And spiritual.
Yeah, spiritual people and spiritual principles. Right?
Interesting.
And that's kind of where, you know, where I kind of try to lead my life.
Nice.
Right?
Well, sure.
You know, I took different paths career-wise, of course.
But that's a very interesting influence to have, you know, growing up, to have a law enforcement perspective from your parents' side of you.
Yeah.
Did you get in trouble with them a lot?
No. Well, yeah. Yeah, I got in trouble for sure, you know, but I was
just trying to keep you on the right path, you know?
Yeah, but I was also that kind of guy that had to prove to everybody else that because my parents were cops, that, you know.
Right, that dynamic would definitely be there.
You know, so I got into a lot
son
of
a preacher
things.
Sort of thing too, right?
Yeah, a lot of bad choices, right? And then, you know, tried
you tried to piss them off as best you could.
Yeah, and then I ended up
so what did that
what did
that and I'm going to get to that. You know, was weed one of your first drugs, or where did that come along, or what was your first experience with drugs, like alcohol, tobacco?
Well, it was alcohol, high school? But I never liked alcohol. I mean, I just get sick, just overdo it, right? Never really understood.
What age were you when you started drinking?
Oh, I don't know. Probably had my first sip of beer when I was like 8 or 9.
8 or 9. Yeah. When did you start like getting it from a bootlegger? You weren't getting it from mom and dad.
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, you know, as long as I was with them and stuff, you know, like a couple sips were okay. And then as I got into teenagehood, right, if I was with mom and dad, it was fine. But
getting drunk wouldn't have been too fun.
Yeah, getting shit-faced, that started when I was about 15, right? And then, you know, the marijuana thing, it was light on that. It was okay. I liked it. But, you know, my
same time frame, around 15, started smoking a bit of weed here and there?
Yeah. It's no shape, means, or form, a gateway of any type, though.
You know,
Well, the whole thing was a gateway, right? You had parents that were cops, you had friends that were getting high different
I
ways.
guess you could call them
All of that's the
influences.
gateway to wherever it is you're going to end up, right?
They're influences, for
They're
sure.
influencers, for sure.
You know, but one thing led to another, and, you know, my drug of choice was a lot worse, so I just,
So
I got stuck in that for like 12 years.
So 12 years with a drug of choice that was a lot worse. So, and by worse, you're talking about lifestyle things that happened, and you know, did it affect your money flow? Did it affect your family?
No, I mean, I always had a career. You know, I'd go in stages where I'd go in benders, so I'd be like a binge user, and then
weekends and time off, more or less.
Well, sometimes it would be an every day of the week type thing for a couple of months, and then nothing for 7 or 8 months.
While you were still working,
Yep. So I still built my career on and off, but I mean, of course, you're not nearly as efficient because you're not getting the rest, you're not putting the right nutrients in the body. I should say your eye was, it's very distracted.
Using the drugs that they're on, it's getting that withdrawal process is just so hard for so many people.
Absolutely.
So you did do that at some point successfully, and did cannabis play a role in that?
Huge
role.
Huge. My largest influences, is obviously family support was huge.
And you were having serious health implications by this time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I had already had, like I said, I already had diabetes for about 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years at that point. And then I got kidney failure and I ended up going on dialysis. And that was super tough, In a lot of ways, I wanted to escape and give up, and I ended up falling back into that.
Were you honest with your doctors about what was going on with you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, as soon as I got the news, I mean, everything's out in the open. This is what's going on. I ended up taking, using cannabis as a primary source to kind of help transition out of that. Plus, the pain medication that I was getting. Where's my water? Did I put my water over here? Here, hold on a sec. Okay, I just smoked a big Jeffrey doobie. The Jeffries are, they got a bunch of other stuff in there. It's a lot of fun, all cannabis related.
I think I'll have a hit of nature's champagne myself. Pure vodka, by the way.
Yeah, much better.
Not, but it could be.
Oh, it's delicious.
So what form of cannabinoids were you using primarily? What was your best?
Well, I found what helped with me was because I was getting prescribed Percocets and hydromorphones like crazy, and then I ended up just primarily eating it and smoking extracts is what I got onto.
Concentrates.
The concentrates really helped. The high dose helped for both my ailments. With the addiction, I kind of still needed that way to kind of escape, but not. Like I don't like. I like who I am. I don't have to like leaving that space. However, there is a more gentler version that this helps encourage, and it kind of lightens up my mood. I get my appetite back. I'm eating my 3 square meals or my 6 small meals a day, checking my blood sugars, taking my pills, doing all that stuff instinctively and automatically because I'm not jonesing. I'm not like looking for the next hit. I'm not looking to fucking go to La La Land and this awesome feeling. Like,
What's the time frame on that? So you've been on this side of it for
it's been very successful for about it's been working well for 3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah, very well. I've been completely free of hard drugs now for almost 2. Right. So I did that. I did have a relapse and all that time that I got clean before. I mean,
it's a process.
It's a today thing. It's what it is, right?
Yeah.
And it's not sweating the small stuff as much anymore. Right. And
because there's a lot of lessons that you learn. It's not just that cannabis, you smoke it and then you feel better. It's that you smoke it and you think about how you're feeling and you think about whether this is valid or that's valid or what type of values you want to put on some of these things that are causing you emotional problems and those sorts of things. I found for me personally, and I've had many other people express to me, that it's been a journey of understanding that cannabis is kind of a vehicle that helps you along that path of inner reflection on yourself and coming to understand who each individual is as a person, coming to accept yourself. Like you said, you like who you are, you like being in that space. There's a lot of people who would like to change some things about themselves, and if they could have the time and the patience and the right heart to be able to have those conversations with themselves, they could maybe start implementing some different habits and some changes. And cannabis really kind of helps put you in that mind frame, of being able to, laugh at yourself and think about things in ways that you otherwise are so set in ways that you can't. Right?
Here's the thing: it's all going to come down to the general stigma dying, and that can be done and accomplished through education. Now the thing is that we know the government wants to do their own research and this and that. Well, the facts are already in. We've been smoking this medicine for thousands of years. There's no need to fuck with it, radiate it, pesticides. None of that needs to happen.
All of a sudden, they need to do their due diligence to protect us from this particular plant.
Here's the thing: is that we got that knowledge base already. We know that when you eat it, it absorbs into delta 11 and instead of like a delta 9 when you smoke it where it spikes, you're super high and then it tapers down. I mean, that's really good for somebody who needs it for pain, for example, right? Because it doesn't get rid of the pain, but your mind's not focused on it anymore. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is that you can focus on other things again. You're not focusing on that constant headache in your feet, for example, like myself, because I got neuropathy. But I don't take nerve pain medication anymore. I don't take Tylenol. I don't take anything. I just have a couple puffs of extracts at the end of the day. I don't even really need it for during the day. I have it socially sometimes, but if you're doing a serious type of job or something where obviously you got to be as clairvoyant as possible when you're thinking, maybe you just want to save your joint smoking for the end of the day.
It's an individual journey for everybody.
It's different for everybody, right? Yeah. And that's what I'm coming down to, is that everybody has a different way that they metabolize this drug, a different way that they treat it. Like addicts, they're going to want to eat a high dose edible, because that high dose with the delta 11, instead of peaking up here, you come to a certain point, you're comfortably stoned, and then it plateaus for hours and hours and hours, because now you're living in your kidney, but the area that water is processed in, now it's really getting into your bloodstream properly, and there's that longevity effect. So somebody that's always jonesing, looking for that next 10 seconds, well, now they can just kind of relax. Maybe they'll get the munchies and get a good night's rest for a change. And that's where the start is that, as somebody's mother, brother, cousin, daughter, best friend, somebody cares about them, they care about somebody else. They just need more help than what, say, the 12-step program can offer. So let's be more spiritual in our approach. Let's recognize that marijuana is not a supplementary drug of any type. It's something to encourage the healthy transition into a normal lifestyle again. It helps unfog that brain fog. And it doesn't kill brain cells, no matter what anybody tells you. There's no proof on that.
Well, that is a science in infancy with respect to brain cells. Yeah. We reorganize the trillions of connections within our brains on a momentary basis. They're forever recombining and reorganizing. We require less of the synapses as we get older and organize things better. That's just the way it is. Having less brain cells is not an indication of having less intelligence. There are areas of the brain that are killed and dumbed down by, you know, other types of substances, you know, when abused, for sure.
Yep.
The evidence is both anecdotal and I'm sure scientific as well. But any reduction in brain cells with respect to cannabinoids, I would suspect is a healthy reduction, and because that's what cannabis is all about. Cannabis is we're basically made out of cannabis in a lot of ways. It is the main overriding system in the human body and in all of the vertebrates is the endocannabinoid system.
Right.
And that's a system that exists to maintain homeostasis and balance and regulate all of these other systems that make up the physical experience that we have within our bodies. So that this plant, these cannabinoids, because our body creates these same cannabinoids, the exact same chemistry, that's why the receptor sites in our body work with cannabis, is because our receptor sites are designed to work with the chemistry that we create for ourselves with the foods that we eat, especially the essential fatty acids that are involved in creating these things that are the identical mimics. And it's a very complex thing. It's not easy. It's not like a simple skeleton key in a lock. It's like a huge, like, complex thing that has to fit properly to be able to unlock those cells. And so we have receptor sites for cannabis chemistry throughout our bodies that are there to be the overriding regulators of our bodies. It is a super, super important plant in our whole experience for all of these billion years of evolving here as life forms. So yeah, it's medicine because we're made out of it. You know, we're made out of plants. Cannabis is not the only plant that has cannabinoids. There's a bunch of other plants that produce cannabinoids and terpenes and all these things we're getting with cannabis. But cannabis is the best source of it. And cannabis is this ancient plant with male and female and root systems that are so different than the modern plants. 95% of the plants in the world right now are considered modern plants by evolutionary standards. And cannabis is one of this, you know, in the 5th percentile of really ancient plants. Not even insect pollinated. It predates insects. It's wind pollinated. And so that this plant has been present here on this planet, and the life that has evolved here has been evolving by consuming this plant for millennia, for billions of years. And so, yeah, it's, you know, it shouldn't be illegal.
No.
Shouldn't be illegal to grow.
Absolutely not. It should be considered a naturopathic
Oh my God.
if anything,
there shouldn't be limits on how much you can grow unless for some reason there wasn't enough to go around and we had to make sure everybody got enough. But that's not the case.
But here's the real funny thing about everyone's situation in the cannabis world that we live in, is that there's more than enough to go around for everyone, including the government, and it can all be put at more than affordable, low barrier access.
And it'll all create jobs.
It'll create, they're huge. Okay, here's the thing. I would say there's probably a good 80-90% of the populace that's out there that's involved with cannabis that won't sell out, that won't give the government our secrets, that won't tell them how to get rid of their bug problem, that won't tell them how to get 10 times their yield on production, that won't give them the fucking chemical and the down by all, like the chemistry on exactly how to use all these different various extracts. The only way to bridge that gap, we're just asking simple things. We gotta have it low barrier. We gotta have it affordable. Okay. We want to be able to use all sorts of various types of. We want to use butanes, propanes, and ethanol, and all sorts of other things to make the proper extracts. It's all in your product. It's all in your process.
And it can be done safely.
It needs to be done safely, and we're not a bunch of thugs and gangsters. This is a majority of this industry are just mom and pop businesses that want to just provide a living for themselves and their children. Help the community. Like, this is my experience in it, and the stigma the government is putting across that we're just bad people and that we're not. This whole idea that cannabis is evil is completely opposite of the world that we actually live in. Everybody that works with cannabis, whether they join in just for the money at start or not, it grabs everybody by the heart because they actually see the progress and difference it made. My association, we've been a medicinal dispensary 15, 16 years. We had to shut down. Well, guess what? We were able to solve cancers in little children that had tumors, that relied on suppositories. And now the guy's walking again. And he's not taking cancer treatments whatsoever. He beat it without the treatments.
On the government side of things, they've got a whole bunch of investors and people that are trying to run the show that don't use cannabis, don't understand cannabis. All they care about
That's
is
right.
bottom line profits on
All
things.
about profits.
And on the other side of it, you got a whole bunch of people that are growing cannabis, that are making wonderful medicinal grade extracts out of the cannabis, who are helping their friends get it, who are helping their sick relatives get it, and they all care. They all use it themselves. They all love cannabis. There's a lot of love in the cannabis community, you know, around the whole range of it.
Yeah.
And on the other side of it, what the government's trying to put in there is a bunch of people who care about the money. They're trying to see how much they can maximize their profits. They don't understand that there's poor, sick people that are not able to get access because they're trying to maintain this monopoly, and inflated artificial prices, post-prohibition prices of cannabis are higher than what they were during prohibition, and they're still higher than the green or gray or underground market that exists now. And that's just ludicrous. The whole idea of wanting to end prohibition for many of us was the ridiculous price that we were having to pay for it. And that price was being paid because people could lose their liberty, they could lose their property, and you know, all these other things that could happen. And in legalization, there should be no threat and no need for high-priced lawyers, no worry that your family is going to be seized or your homes are going to be seized. And so it should be $1 a gram. I mean, if Ford thinks he can have $1 of beer in Ontario, well, certainly BC, we could have $1 a gram. That should be easy. I mean, I know there's going to be $4 grams too for people who really want to be connoisseurs. $4 a gram is a lot of money to pay for a plant, just a plant that grows like any other plant, basically. So, you know, but, you know, we should have dollar grams and less than dollar grams. You should be able to buy raw cannabis. You should be able to walk into a grocery store and buy it untrimmed, just, you know, cut down, and there it is. You can have it. It's $20 a pound or something like that. You know, outdoor shouldn't be a problem. But, you know, we're still living in very, very corrupt times here.
Well, you bring up the endocannabinoid system previously, and I mean, if you think about the radiation that we're buying from the government, you know, there's no cannabinoids left in it. They've nuked out the CBD, CBG, CBN. It's all gone. They brought the THC. They brought the THC levels way down.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what putting weed in a microwave does. When you microwave your plate of food, I guarantee you, you're going to have way less nutrients in it when you eat it. You're not getting anything out of it.
And you can see it in cannabis.
Like,
when you have irradiated cannabis,
like,
and you look at it under the microscope, we've got one here. We test all our products here. We have a look at them under the microscope here. But when you look at irradiated cannabis, there's no resin glands. They're all shriveled up and splattered on the surface of the plant. There's no trichomes that are beautiful and all. There's none of that. It's just a wasteland. It looks like an absolute war.
The terpenes have been nuked as well. The terpene is what gives the strain. It's a big part of what gives that strain its reputation.
And it's the way people identify whether it's going to help them.
That's right. How do they know if it's an indica or sativa if they can't taste the difference between a skunk and a limeade terpene?
How do they know if it's a strain that's going to help them or not? Because your nose tells you a lot. And not only does it have no smell, but you can't smell it anyway. They don't want you to know that it has no smell because they package it in these ridiculously sealed, over-packaged, one-use plastics, and you know, you're not allowed to smell it before you buy it even. So
and here's the thing: they're trying to promote, you know, straws that are made out of, you know, like those paper straws. Great. Then why are you giving us a 122 gram package for a 3.5 gram package of flour? Like, one of the reasons give us a recyclable hemp project package at least, right?
One of the reasons we were told is because it needs to have room for the warnings.
Warnings for what? Nobody's ever died off of it.
Well, you don't know that yet.
And the percentages are so low.
You don't know that yet from government weed. It's only been around for a couple of years. There could be people dying from that shit.
That's not weed. It's government weed.
I know, it's Franken weed.
So it's something completely different.
And they need warnings on it, perhaps.
Well, perhaps.
Maybe they do.
I don't know. I just, you know, I know a lot of warnings.
They won't allow you to use that container a second time because it's had, like, toxic narcotics in it.
They're going to warn you about the psychotropic effects. Well, you know what? Their levels are so tiny and minute, there are no psychotropic effects.
Have they not?
High-dose edibles and extracts to have that, and even so, we tell them, dose low, dose slow. And that's what you do with anything. If someone gives you a 40 of liquor, if we're going to even bother comparing it to something so opposite.
Well, I love comparing it to alcohol.
But it's nothing like it. But if we're going to compare it, because that's how the government understands it, if you're going to compare it to, I mean, if someone gives you a 40 pound of liquor, you never tried it before, you're not going to start going like this to it.
Can you imagine?
You know what I mean?
If the
Same
government
thing. Like,
put regulators on the tops of their 40 pounders of vodka and whiskey, and you could only drink it like a few drips at a time, like on a timer of some sort, and not allowed to have more than that because I don't know why, but
well, I'm sorry.
it's
Okay.
the government. They
Okay.
must know better than us. They must know why you can only have a tiny little bit of cannabis at a time.
Okay, hold on.
And you can have a big 40-pounder of vodka.
I'm gonna play the part of the first time stigma pot user. Oh, I've never smoked pot before. I'm gonna walk into the store and try it for the first time. That looks delicious. I'll grab an eighth of that. Okay,
Yeah.
Go back to the car. I'm just, you know what? I'm just gonna eat it. Wait, I'm not gonna drive. I'm gonna wait till I get stoned and not stoned again before I drive a vehicle. Of course. Hold on. Okay, an hour's gone by.
Yeah.
2 hours. 4 hours. It's the next day.
It
Wow, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Well, it needs to be decarboxylated first. You need to do things before you get high. So you know what? Why are you even labeling your package? You got to eat ounces of it in order to get to green out, right? And no one's going to sit there and eat an ounce of flour. It tastes absolutely horrible. And these are the things, is that, with these LP dispensaries, where's the baseline education, the experience with the people themselves? Now, this is what they're not doing, is they're ignoring all of us with the experience that's by the people, for the people, work with the people for years and years and years, and you're not trusting in our opinions, especially the ones that have been doing this for free. I have been doing this for 3 years and not made a penny on it. I eat. Okay, great. Everyone needs to eat. Great. It's not why we're in this, and there's a lot of passionate people out there, and this is what we have to get across with their thick skulls, is that we are here to help. Yes, you can make a lot of money on this, but we don't need to be taking food out of people's mouths to do that. Everybody can benefit. There's profits to be made for all. Look at the United States. Their model is a heck of a lot closer to what ours probably should look like, but we put so many restrictions on so many things. And I understand the colorful packaging and things like that and making it unattractive for children. I get it. But there's also child-proof containers, and there's something called responsible parenting. So I don't know about you.
You could have a liquor cabinet.
A liquor cabinet with a
dab bar.
Have something in, and this is just
and the kids aren't being harmed by the dab bar like they're being harmed by the liquor cabinet anyway.
That's right.
I get all of it because I can see right through to the greed.
Yeah.
It's all about greed. I mean, they can have profits over people if they want, but as long as they don't stop people who want to do people over profits. Like, as long as both models get to exist, fine. But when the profit over people use those profits to stop the people over profit people, that's when it's really wrong. That's when it becomes a crime. That's when it becomes one of the more serious crimes in our society because of the numbers that we're talking about. We're talking about millions of Canadians who would use cannabis for their aches and pains and their serious debilitating medical conditions. They would use it if they knew about it and if they had access to it, but they don't, because the government says, here, you can use weed and it comes from our store and it's not medical.
You want to make it fair, then the government needs to stop putting their fingers in the cookie jar and benefiting from these LPs as well.
They should tax the hell out of the LPs,
I mean?
And they should leave medical cannabis dispensaries alone.
No profits, none to anybody who's in politics, period, when it comes to making decisions. Because that, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure it's others, is called a conflict of interest. And I'm tired of being lied to.
I call it murder, Jarrett. I call it murder. I'm right here on the downtown east side every day. I see what's going on here. There's people out here dying on a regular basis because of prohibition. That's the only reason that they're dying here is because of prohibition. And we're helping people avoid that here. And the government, with what they're doing, are absolutely murdering people. If the city actually comes in on the 27th and shuts us down day before Welfare Day, and they're going to have all those people that were now going to come here and buy therapeutic cannabinoids to avoid street drugs, and they're going to turn them away. They want us to turn those people out onto the streets?
It's kind of
what they want? That's
of what
fucking murder, right? Is what that is. That would be murder if they do that.
You know what?
So
You imagine if there was an actual statistical study done from the point that legalization came into play October 17th of 2018 to now, and I wonder how many people more have lost their lives because of the CSU marching in with their big weeds.
Oh my God.
We're doing a great job.
Oh my
you know,
God.
and then shutting down the mom and pop places that are providing a medicinal grade cannabis that rely on it to stay alive or stay off their drugs. Now they're gone. Now where are they going to go? They can't go to a government store. They can't afford it. Plus the quality isn't anywhere close to what they're getting from the green market. And that is what they're trying to shut down. But guess what? What happens when mom and dad pushes against their kids and their teenagers and say, no, don't do this? Well, guess what? They do it anyways.
Yeah.
So, you know, there has to be a common ground where we can work together. And we are miles away now. We were so much closer before legalization to actually making a real cannabis world work for all. And now we are 20, 30, I would say 100 years behind the fucking ball now. And all we got to do is all they have to do is just actually listen for a change. Sit down and have real conversations about change, about truth, and the hope of how this can actually change everyone's lives. And I'm just, I don't know, like you, Neil, I'm ready to keep fighting, man. Every day it goes by, it gives us more and more ammunition for the fight. They need to just...
We had 180 dispensaries here a couple of years ago. Every one of those dispensaries had hundreds of patients or people and clients that were using cannabis to stay off the hard drugs. I watched Jody Emery and Jeremiah Vandermeer give testimony to the city of Vancouver about the hundreds of people that were coming into their stores and using their services that were using them to stay off of hard drugs. They shut all those places down in the name of profits to protect government stores that were selling non-medical cannabis that aren't going to help people get off of opioids at all. No high-dose edibles available. Weed that isn't even worth smoking, and smoked weed doesn't do it anyway. They shut down the people's ability to get high-dose cannabis edibles from all these dispensaries, and they literally murdered people in the process. It is just disgusting. They need to license and permit those places that are helping people that have no victims in their wake. If there were people that were coming forward and saying, I've been harmed significantly and demonstrably by this dispensary in my neighborhood there, then the government can act. And they can determine whether that's true or not, and then they can try to regulate what's going on there. But for them to come in and put a stop to commerce that's happening between free people, people that want to provide a service but the government won't let them, so they do it anyway, and people that want that service, and even though the government says they can't have it, they go and get it anyway. We are free people in a free country. These public servants have no bloody business impeding commerce and business where there are no victims involved and where there is no harm involved, and especially where there's good being done. These cannabis dispensaries are helping people get off of alcohol, if not the hard drugs. They're helping people who use less of the toxic prescriptions that harm people so dramatically. All you have to do is watch one of their commercials on TV and listen to the list of side effects that goes on and on and on. You don't find anything like that with cannabinoids.
And
so,
you know, just because you enjoy your medicine you take gives the government no right to be calling it recreation.
They have no right to control the plants.
It's a medicinal plant.
Most of the plants are dangerous.
It's a natural medicine.
Every house plant you have can kill you if you eat too much of it. It doesn't take much for some of the house plants that we have. Even the fruits and vegetables that we have
Look at
have
morning
toxic
glory
doses.
that grows in your backyard.
We were looking at it yesterday.
I mean?
I said, that's a pretty high, hallucinogenic plant right there. They don't do anything about that because there's not a bunch of money to be made off of that.
That's
The only reason they care about this and keeping you from getting it from anybody but them is because of the money involved. This is corruption at its very core.
And if they really, if they want if proper change is going to be invoked, if the government is going to want to win and get their means to their ends, it would actually benefit to work with the people and not against them. Build their trust. Build a society that's not like this at everybody. I'd go take a drive down Vancouver. People are honking their horn. Guess what? Small towns, everybody waves to each other.
Yeah.
Could you imagine what that'd be like if everybody just waved to each other all the time?
Yeah.
And it's that simple. And it's because there's so much conflict in the city. So, if you're in a position
by
of
design,
power, if you're in a position of power, the more conflict you can eliminate, and if you can benefit from eliminating that conflict too, even better, right? Because you're still going to make money. It's by the numbers. More people will come to your stores if you offer them what they want. They want affordable product. They want a medicinal product. They don't want to be lied to. They don't want to be lied to. They want to be going in there for the experience. They want to go in there for the proper education. They want to go in there for that variety of product line. That's why this green market has to go down behind closed doors, is because we're just not given the options that we all want. The legalization isn't what the people wanted. We just didn't want to go to jail and risk our lives anymore. And we just want to share it
Waste
with
our money.
everybody. You know what? Put regulations like, okay, test it to make sure there's no bullshit in it. Okay, perfect. Here's a gram for your fucking testing machine. Test the product. It's clean. Perfect. Now you can put it on the shelves. I'm just saying, but that's
I don't want the government anywhere near that, because they have no business there.
No, but that's the way they should have approached it from the beginning. Just like
but
the
whole
Washington
thing
law.
is
And
it's
they
corrupt.
didn't.
It's all because of corruption.
I know.
These are not public servants that are really trying to do what's right for the
They're
people.
not all that bad.
They're trying to
takes a
look like they're
handful.
doing what's right for the people. That's the act that they're involved with. That's
Yeah.
the role that they play. Is they give lip service to being there to help people with what our needs are, and the reality is that they're really serving the interests of the corporate elite who want to exploit us and monopolize things around us. And they, you know, we are putting a dent in pharmaceutical companies with the legalization of medical cannabis. That is going to do that. People can grow your own medicine. Natural herbal medicine, especially cannabinoids that are found on cannabis, but lots of other herbs as well, is the healthy way to treat what's going on with us. We've lost touch with that, a lot of us, because we live in a world of modern medicine. And that's what they want us to believe, is modern medicine is better than the plants and the herbs. And they're not. These synthesized versions of what the active ingredients of herbs do for us make them a fuck of a lot of money, and they have additives and things in there that on purpose make us not well, to prove that it works in some cases, but to help us buy other medications as well. This is, I mean, conspiracy, coincidence, whatever you want to call it. There are great, wealthy, powerful forces with huge leverage that have been behind the restrictions and prohibitions on cannabis from the beginning. They still are. That's who we're fighting against. That's why they came out and decided that they could give us legalization that would appease us, where really it's not legalization. It's where we get to have weed as long as we buy it from them and their dealers and all the rest of it. Just another attempt at exploiting and monopolizing us. And so, yeah, no, I'm not in favor of government intervention with respect to the herb more than they have intervention with respect to the grapes. And I don't know what that is, but there might be some, and I'm sure it's probably not too much. But, you know, unless there's problems, like with grapes, there could be pesticides, right? So there's pesticide residue that could be an issue that could transfer into the wine. If that's an issue, then there's a role for governments to play. Regulations are there, and there's a huge variety of different creative ways that the government can help protect people when there really are issues involved where people are getting harmed. That's the role we want government to play with respect to regulations. And lots of things can be regulated and should be regulated. Cannabis is one of the least. It is one of the least toxic, one of the least harmful that is out there in the marketplace. It is one of the least, what is the word, the safest, one of the safest therapeutically active compounds known to man, is the quote. I mean, a dozen raw potatoes will kill 50% of the average humans that consume that in a 10-minute period. Just about everything in the grocery store you can overdose on if you eat too much. We can't ingest too much of things. Some things have very tiny amounts that you can, use to overdose and die on. Those things require some regulation. Regulation number one, and almost always, and pretty much the only thing that we need most of the time, is information. That's the regulation that we need. It needs to give you the right information. What is in that package? What are the active ingredients, and what are the potentials for those, especially when they get to be where the potentials can be dangerous? Education does it for almost everything. People are not trying to harm themselves. They're trying to be smart about how they use things. And so those regulations make sense. You're the manufacturer or distributor of this particular product. You need to put on there that overconsumption can result in blah, 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 or, or keep out of the reach of children, or so many other things. That's the number. After that, it gets much more intrusive. And the thing is we're free people. right? We got public servants, and we're free people. We are the masters of these people. They don't own us. We pay them. We pay them a salary to serve our needs, not to make us not free, not to take away our rights, not to protect the corporate interests or private interests at our expense, but they're supposed to be working for us. And when it comes to regulations, whenever they're putting a regulation on anything that goes beyond just the necessary information, they are now intruding on yours and my rights. And that is a fragile place to be. They need to be very conscious of where they are and what they're trying to do there. So when they put age restrictions on things, when they put quantities of purchase, when they put quantities of active ingredient, all of these things are now infringements on your rights. And the real problem with regulations is that it's not a bad idea to have regulations. As I've been saying, in some cases, it's a good idea. But what very quickly happened to the regulatory bodies of different types of things, it started with meats and other things that needed to be regulated because there was illness resulting from poor meat processing practices. They quickly become corrupted, these regulatory boards, by the very people that are standing to lose from regulation that would result in them not being able to have the practices that they're practicing. They get the ex-chairmans of their boards onto these regulatory boards in positions of influence, and it usually that the regulatory boards serve the wrong interests from what we the people should have served for us. The answer to that, in my opinion, is to have one more overriding regulatory body that overlooks all of the regulatory boards and has a specific task of monitoring the different ways that these boards can get corrupted and serve the wrong interests and still harm people. So that's my solution to that one if it ever comes to being able to implement something like that.
First things first.
But a regulatory board is a good thing in the case of things where problems can arise, like poor meat practices causing
and everything made public information as well.
As well, of course, everything properly transparent would go a long way. But whenever those regulations beyond information get to the point where now you're probably going to be lured into some other underground marketplace to buy what you want, rather than go through all these hoops and things that you have to go through, those regulations are now going to do way more harm than good. They're going to create and foster that underground marketplace that will have no regulations, most likely, don't care about you probably, just, much more about profit than anything. And so what I mean? So the mandate of any regulatory body, of any government that's putting regulations on, is that whenever the regulations get to the point where they're sending people to that underground marketplace, they have to scale them back. And especially if that commodity is dangerous. The more dangerous it is, the more responsibility the government has to make sure that people do not go to that underground, unregulated marketplace, because that's where they're going to end up dead or worse, And there's worse than dead. There's people that are worse than dead. They'd be better off dead because the last number of years of their life have been nothing but pain and suffering and horror, and it's not going to stop until they die. They would have been better off not to be going through what they're going through here. And our governments, on behalf of the corporate elite, are most of the time responsible for that because they're greedy and they're corrupt and they don't care about people. And so that's where I am with regulations. That's my thing in a nutshell.
The answers are out there for our homeless population.
We see it here more than anywhere. These people, that I hate saying these people, but the people that are the ones that are used here by them on the downtown east side are scapegoated by the corporate elite to justify their prohibitions and their regulations that are really serving their interests about keeping people from understanding that you can grow your own medicine for most of what's not right with you, and we should be able to trade in it freely amongst ourselves, so that if you can't grow what you need or do the extraction for what you need to get what you need, your neighbor can, or your cousin can, or the co-op down the street can, and any government that's getting in the way of that is doing it for the wrong reasons. They're not about people getting access to what will help them.
They're about an instant return, because there is a return. It's just not as large as quick if they bring their prices down. But it still makes sense. If their prices are down low, there are profits. There's more than enough
Jared,
people.
I mean, I'm not naive,
just not
and I recognize that what I'm calling for will put a dent in the sale of alcohol, hopefully. People will be much more responsible recreational people. That in our recreational times, you know, we use cannabis and cannabinoids way more than we use alcohol to excess. That alcohol in moderation is fine, but for those that, you know, can't help but do it to excess, there should be real easy other alternatives to recreation time. And I do believe that what our store can do for people, we have people out there that are, you know, using alcohol more than they want to, and they're coming in here and they're telling us that now they're better off having an edible than they are getting drunk, and they feel better in the morning when they have an edible than when they've been drunk. So I do know that we're going to put a dent in the sale of alcohol, and I do know that that's a government corporation that is going to now lose a bit of money on people growing their own weed and sharing amongst ourselves, so I recognize that. I do know that we're going to put a dent in the pharmaceutical industry's ability to gouge people the way that they have, to make 3,000% markup on the penny that they spend for no good reason, that for all of the different corruption that's going on as a result of that, you know, industrial complex of providing pharmaceutical modern medicine. I do know we're going to put a dent in that. I do know that we're going to take some money out of some police budgets, because they don't need all that money for going after people that are simply growing plants and helping other people get access to plants. We don't need the CSU. They should all fucking be fired immediately, because it's a waste of taxpayer. It's a criminal misuse of taxpayer money to go down and shut down a dispensary that's helping people get off of opioids and a myriad of other fucking problems.
Better than the guy sitting there with a radar gun with no traffic point going by.
So we're going to put a dent in their budget, and I'm sorry about that, but there's better things for police to do, you know? And there's a few other industries out there. The fuel industry. Really, we should be growing our fuel above ground instead of sucking it out of the earth and charging people, you know, ridiculous prices for dinosaurs that died a long time ago. You know, and so there's a lot of ways where cannabis can save our economy a lot of money, but in doing so, it's going to take that money out of the pockets of people that have been exploiting us for a very long time and manipulating prices on things like fuel and textiles and medicines and other things like that. So I get it that, you know, there's people going to be hurt. They're not going to like what's going on here. And that's the way it is.
Hey, you know what? They're all going to have to wake up, because it's not about what's legal or illegal. It's about what's right and what's wrong.
Exactly. That is my bottom line truth always. It's about what's right and wrong. And people on the wrong side of this issue, man, I don't want to be them. I'm glad I'm not them, and they should get off of that side. It's time for people to end this. I mean, this is bullshit. This is hurting people. We can't help people the way I want to help people. You know why? Because the price of weed is too high. We've got $2.50 grams, which is great, because instead of going and spending $3 on the meth on the corner, they can come and get a gram of weed here, and that's perfect. That's great. But you know what? It should be a lot less than that. This should be easily available to people. I've got concentrates that are $40 for a gram. It's the best concentrates. In today's world, it's well worth it. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than that particular thing anywhere else, right? But it shouldn't be that high.
And it's only because longer than an hour. It'll last for a few days.
Concentrates are a very good way to go. You eliminate the plant matter and all the rest of it. And for those who can afford $40 for the diamonds, you know, in today's world, that's a good deal. But I want tomorrow's world, where that's available to people that don't have that $40 and can't take advantage of that, which is a better and more cost efficient way to have something, because they don't even have that initial $40, right? So, you know, really, you know, let's all pull together here. This is a pandemic of overdose deaths due to an opioid crisis that's fueled completely by the prohibitions of the plant medicines, including and especially the attempt to overregulate, restrict, and prohibit cannabis, which is the answer to so many people's opioid problems out there. That during this pandemic of our sons and daughters and brothers and sisters dying from a poison drug supply, let's all pull together here. Let's open a whole bunch of these real medical cannabis dispensaries. Growers help the people sell weed cheaper. I mean, you know, like, just look at the growers of other things. And I know it's not going to go to what it is to grow heads of lettuce immediately, and it shouldn't and never will. But it can go somewhere farther closer to where, you know what I mean? Like, we're looking at greenhouses to rent to help produce for the people here. And you know, there's a greenhouse there that was producing 250,000 heads of lettuce for the marketplace there, and getting like a penny or two per head of lettuce for what they're doing there. But they made a decent living at it, you know.
Yeah.
And here we are. We want to grow something that, you know, for whatever reason, demands so much more. And I know it's valuable, and I know people are willing to pay more, and I know it costs more to produce the real fine cannabis for sure, 100%. And there's always going to be a market for that. But the market shouldn't be at 10 or 12 or $14 a gram. That is just, you know, and whatever, you know, maybe you can do that. And I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying that nobody should. I'm not a should on you people, but you know, and I'm sure there's going to be people that are living in high towers that want the best, you know, salesman to come with the briefcase full of the nicest looking cannabinoids that you could ever imagine. And they want to pay $20 a gram for that because nobody else can touch the weed that they got at that price. I guess that's always going to be there. But for the average person, let's allow them to have, you know, reasonable access to these things. You know, stop funding, you know, over-regulation and prohibitions and post-prohibition ridiculous pricing and putting down, you know, the ability of people to just provide it cheaply like we should be able to. And it's not cheap. At even $2 a gram, that's still not cheap.
Honestly, dude,
Right, you know?
honestly, you think they'd say, okay, artisan craft group, there's your license to produce, grow it how you see fit. Oh, and yeah, we just need to tax a little bit like we do everything else in this country, fine. And then leave them alone. Just leave them alone to grow great quality product. Have us dictate our own prices and tax based on those prices. Yeah,
Tax
if it has
personal
to happen.
tax
If it has to
personal
happen.
income.
Right.
Tax personal
There
income.
you go.
Don't
Yeah.
don't tax the process along the way to getting people therapeutic cannabinoids. That is something
Right.
the government should be supplementing, not taxing.
There's a good
They
point, too,
don't
right?
need a cut anywhere along the way of ordinary people getting reasonable access to therapeutic cannabinoids because it helps them in so many ways. That if our government would help us get access reasonably by supplementing or at least leaving the process alone. Don't tax any stage of the process from grower to anybody else except their personal income from being a part of the machine to get things to marketplace, but no tax on anything else that has to do with getting it there. Because us as people, we are the government. It is our money, and we put people in charge of deciding how to spend that money. And all of us will agree that getting people therapeutic cannabinoids will save us a whole bunch of money in a whole bunch of other ways. If we can have less people binging on alcohol, we'll have less domestic violence. We'll have less, you know, violence in automotive violence. If we can get people off of toxic pharmaceuticals that cause so much problems, that put people early into care homes because of onsets of dementia that are driven by pharmaceutical drugs. There are so many. I mean, I could go on and on and on about so many ways that we as a society would spend a lot less money on the problems that we have, because we'd have a lot less problems if we had easy, reasonable access to therapeutic cannabinoids for all sorts of different things, from people that have skin problems to people that have dietary problems to people that have all whatever, right? Like, our governments are corrupt. We've been lied to. Been going on for a very long time. It's time for an apology. It's time to stop doing that. It's time to fire all of the people that have or ever had anything to do with maintaining this corrupt system of prohibition and now overregulation of our access as free people to the cannabinoids that nature is providing us freely and easily for anybody that wants to put a seed in the ground and add a little bit of water or whatever. Don't even have to add water in most places. It's just going to grow. But it's time to end all of this harmful, destructive, costly corruption.
Doesn't that also come down to our leaders, Neil?
It is all about our
Right.
leaders. It is all about our leaders.
Maybe get somebody in charge who has a spine, for example.
Yeah, and
Could
you know, it could happen. I'm an optimist. I mean, maybe there's a slim chance, because we've been under the thumb of these corporatists for a very long time. They allow people to be in those positions of influence in government. If there's people there that are really going to buck the system, they get dealt with. That's all there is to it. That's how it works. I know that's how it works. That they get people to run for prime minister. They get people. The prime minister picks people to work in the justice minister's office. They get people who comply.
They get their own people.
They get their own people in there.
They don't have anybody that challenges their agendas.
That's
right,
exactly.
What a democracy is supposed to be.
It's supposed to be
it's
that.
Supposed to be the group as a whole to challenge each other for the best idea for everybody.
And they're all corrupt. All through they're corrupt. You can see it by their politics. You know, they should be standing up and championing the cause for what this is about. And I don't mean holding up a joint like I'm some sort of stoned teenager that decides not to do homework because I'd rather get high instead. There's issues with cannabis that they've portrayed and stereotyped people about. And they're lies and wrong, and there's some of that for sure. But what there is more than that is it's medicine for people. What there is more than that is it's a great replacement for over drinking and for opioids and for so many of the other things that people are using and misusing and causing us all sorts of problems with. They pick on things like that. You know, we would have rallies where we would have good speakers in front of the art gallery going over and over about, you know, really articulating properly and doing interviews with the media while we were there about the real problems with prohibition and it causes all of this issues and blah, 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 blah. And what do we get in the newspaper the next day? What is the story that runs? Some kid looking stoned, you know, holding up a joint going, wow, man. And, you know, they're completely purposely missing the point year after year because they don't want to tell the truth. They can't tell the truth because their bosses are owned by their corporate partners who are all part of this, you know, attempt to protect their own private interests of the patentable things they can sell to us and the way that they can exploit us. And it's all part of a big, huge coincidence that's been going on for decades here. And it's time to stop it. It's over. We know better now. Everybody knows better now. You know, you know, the emperor wears no clothes. You know the story? They're like the real novel about it. That somebody sells the emperor on the idea that this clothing is, you know, going to make him look beautiful and everybody's going to see it. And even though he can't, and because anyway, you got to read the story. Okay. But there's a parallel version to it about just how naked our leaders are in their attempts to justify prohibiting access to this dangerous plant over here. And it's all such bullshit. And I say that not only are our leaders naked, but they're prone. They're bent over backwards, head between their knees. They're ready to have it driven right up there because they got nothing. They have absolutely nothing to justify what they're doing in trying to restrict and prohibit this plant.
I think I got it all figured out here. They legalized marijuana October 17th, which is exactly 6 months opposite of April 20th.
Yeah, I know they did. Yeah.
So,
yep.
If those idiots, sorry, excuse my language, if the powers that be at that time thought that was such a great idea, why would they try to do something so adverse to the culture which makes this industry bumping for what it is to begin with? Yeah. Why would they not work with what's already there? Why fight so hard against it?
They said it from the beginning.
But that's the thing that frustrates me. I call them idiots because I'm upset with them. But they're not.
No, they're very clever.
They're very clever. They have to proceed and know this. Yeah. So what is the end game? And that's the whole
to control the sale and distribution of this $1 trillion crop. You know, it's all about money, profit, and control. That's right. It's all about money and control. Plus, it's not just money.
Hey, if this stuff helps so much medicinally, I guess that would kind of scare Big Pharma a little bit too.
That's the thing. And that's why we're still fighting the way we're fighting.
Drug Mart. Yeah, consult our Shoppers Drug Mart professionals about blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? They're pharmacists. I deal with them all the time. They're wonderful, very knowledgeable, but in what they've studied and the practice that they've been in for years and years and years. Yeah. This is something that is just in the forefront. The government has no idea even existed until 3 years ago, apparently.
And until they can
figure, now they're going to be these expert advisors.
Until they can figure out how to monetize it, they're going to continue. Yeah. It's not in their best interests, and it's got to be in people's best interests to do what they do.
It's got to be in the people's best interests.
Well, that's what you would think.
The people.
When it comes to public servants, that's what you would think. Yeah. Corporations, we can understand why their bottom line is their best interests, but governments, they're supposed to be a buffer between such things. Jared, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. We could talk for hours.
Thanks very much.
I love you, brother, for all you're doing out there, and we're all moving this movement forward of trying to get cannabinoids to the people. And good luck on the future years to come, because these are very interesting times, and we're going to move this medical cannabis issue forward, and you're going to be a big part of that. So thank you, sir.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Neil.
You betcha. Take care.
Hello, Neil. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Debbie?
I'm doing excellent.
That's cool. So another beautiful day down here in Vancouver at the Healing Wave Medical Dispensary. And this is our signs that we got going on there. Very happy with a lot of things here. As you can see, we're part of a study, but we're not just part of a study. We're doing research here, and we're gathering as much information as we ethically can so that we can explain to the government and the people that need to know just how this works and that it does work, and what it is that's going on with people, and getting their feedback on things and charting how it's working for them or not working for them and those kind of things. So being part of a research focused group here is very important for what we're doing, especially in this neighborhood where we need all that kind of research, because we're in the middle of a pandemic. We got about, I don't know, there's so many people dying from this overdose crisis, and this is where we're trying to provide some of what could be a really good solution for many of the people here. And also, the city of Vancouver has recognized this, and they passed a motion June 26th, a year ago, to support what it is that we're doing here. This is low barrier access. As you can see, we're providing affordable cannabinoids to people to help better their lives, and that's got to be done in a way that makes it easily for people to access. So this is a low barrier access point, and this is our store that we've set up. Come on in.
Okay.
So this dispensary is a medical dispensary, but it's also in a collaboration with the Cannabis Substitution Program and the Serious Hope Society. And what that means is that the Cannabis Substitution Program is given free space here to operate the program that they have going on, and that's us. And this is the things that people get to choose from. These are items that have either been purchased or have been donated, and the members here, we have just over 200 people that have qualified as members. They get to choose from all of these different varieties of high-dose edibles that we have, and they can choose up to 420 milligrams, and they can do that every 4 days. So we're really giving out about 80,000 milligrams of cannabinoids to people every 4 days here, and that's because of the generous donations of people that make this program happen. It's been going on for 3.5 years. As most of you will know, we did have it going on at Van Du here, where we were coming twice a week, and for about an hour and a half, we would give out about 300 care packs to the people that would line up for a few hours there to get that. And once the city passed that motion saying that they would support and allow for low barrier access, then we actively started looking for a storefront and for a partnership with a dispensary so that we could do what we're doing here. And so this is what we got going on. The sad news is that we've had to cap it at this point at just over 200 people. And 80,000 milligrams is a lot to be giving out. And we don't know yet if we're going to be able to expand it much beyond that. We really have probably 2,000 people that are right outside of our door here. We're just a block away from Main and Hastings. And there's a huge problem with opioid addiction and with homelessness and poverty. And this program that's allowing people free access to cannabinoids and easy access with respect to the costs and the prices that we're charging here for people that don't qualify for the program but want to purchase those things, that really could help a lot more people than we're being able to help with the program side of it, because many of them live in poverty and are really struggling. So we're hoping that the government helps us, and if not, well, our society is going to have to do some fundraising and find some ways to get more donations so that we can help even more people. And we're now actively looking with another dispensary to open a second location somewhere within about 12 blocks of here so that they can help handle the load of all the people that will come and want help here. We're turning people away every day that would like to be part of the program, but we don't have the resources yet to be able to help them. That kind of breaks my heart a little bit. So we're hoping that before too long, we can have another location and do even more, and that either the government, as they said they would support this, will help us, or we'll have to ask other people to help us even more. But either way, at this point, we've got 200 people that are being helped, and that's really good. And for other people, they can come here and support us by purchasing what we have. We have a low markup, and we have good sponsors and suppliers that want to help us. And so that we're able to offer these products at prices that really are so much better than what's available out there in the rest of the marketplace.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, we try to have the full range of what people need without having an overwhelming number of choices for them. We have kief, for example, 5 grams for $15. And that's an amazing deal based on what that sells for typically out in the marketplace. We have really good old school hash, 2 grams for $15, and those are also prices that are more reflective of how it should be as opposed to what's going on now, where legalization has happened supposedly, but the legal stores are trying to maintain even higher than the prohibition prices that were before. And that's just, that's not realistic, that's not reasonable, it's not even ethical at all. So we're fortunate we can help people with good quality cannabinoids, untumbled. This is really nice cannabis here. It's all very nice cannabis.
Oh, it looks so nice.
Yeah, it's not just important to give people a really low price, but it's also important that we give them good quality. They need to have good quality cannabinoids at a good price, otherwise, what's the point? So. Very happy that we've got this going on, and we're now starting our 5th week. So, I'd like to see where we're at several months from now. We haven't really had an official opening yet. We're probably doing that on August the 1st or right around that date, and then we'll have a lot more different things in place as well. But we're growing very quickly. We very quickly got up to speed with what we needed to have as far as basics go. And within about a month from now, we'll have an even better situation in this, and hopefully we'll have some other help in the neighborhood as well. And I would recommend that other people consider what we're doing here. The courts in Alberta recently ruled that people have a constitutional right to storefront access to medical cannabis, and reasonable access has been something that's run through the court cases for a while now here in Canada. So with that, and also removing the cap on milligrams, which was very important and reasonable as well. You can go and buy big bottles of whiskey and vodka down at the local stores all over the place here. There's no reason why they would be putting a cap on the amount of milligrams that people can have. Some medical users use thousands of milligrams a day to deal with their serious medical issues. So for the government to say that 5 milligrams is going to help somebody and that should be reasonable, well, it just wasn't reasonable. And so with those 2 rulings, and with what we've established here and with what the City of Vancouver has done in supporting low barrier access, and hopefully they're going to give us a license to do what we're doing as well, I think that this is something that many other people could consider now, and that medical cannabis dispensaries, homegrown, locally sourced products that are either tested or from trusted sources and at reasonable prices is what should happen, and we can bring this back. We can make this happen here in Canada and around the world because this is what's right, and I think other people should consider this as well.
What brings you to Cannabis Substitution Project?
Trying to get off of methadone.
Well, that's a great place to start.
I agree.
So how long have you been smoking cannabis for?
5 years.
5 years? And does it help you get off other stuff when you smoke cannabis?
It's the only thing that's given me hope.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm great, thank you.
And I see you're with our program, Cannabis Substitution Project.
Yes, I feel very honored to be a part of it.
Oh, that's so great.
And lucky.
How does that help you out with your everyday life?
Oh, honest to God, I wouldn't be able to function without it.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So does it help with pain or?
Well, I have fibromyalgia. I have a chronic condition, and I'm always in pain all over, and I wouldn't be able to practically get out of bed without it.
Oh.
I find it's very helpful. I'm being treated for depression, so it's better than the. I find it's more effective than the medication I'm getting for my depression, prescription-wise. And I feel better about it because I know exactly what it is. And it helps me with sleep, appetite, and just overall well-being.
I suffer from really bad anxiety. I used to cut because of it. And I was stuck in my house for a few years. And then I started taking large amounts of cannabis, like in concentrate form. And it's allowed me to leave my house. I've been able to hold a job. I'm a better, more well-attentive parent.
So we got quite a bit of premium pot. We got low price pot from $3 a gram. And once a week we got these fine folks that come here with some edibles for our clients, which is fabulous.
I like it. And you guys are really trying to drop the price to help us poor people get a little bit here, a little bit there, you know, and it works. If you share and you get a little bit here, a little bit, it helps.
Oh, I'm so glad. And how does marijuana help you out with your everyday life?
Oh, I don't bitch as much with the pain, and I'm not taking those oxys that they gave me.
And we have a new customer. What's his name?
I forgot what his name was.
We forgot his name already? So he's a customer's pet, right?
He is.
Oh, he's so adorable.
That's my buddy Conehead, 9-year-old chameleon.
Oh, he's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So how does cannabis help you out with your everyday life?
Well, I mean, it's been helping my everyday life since I was like 14, 60s now, but about 2 years ago, I got this weird thing, they're not even sure what it is, some kind of a neuropathy. And that's when I realized, holy shit, this weed I've been smoking all my life is actually medicinal. It's not just for fun. Yeah, so actually the weed now, I mean, it's nice, but it's not really enough to help a neuropathy that they think I've got. So I need more of the concentrates in that, yeah, some of the edibles are good, but you shouldn't lower the dosage to 5 milligrams. That's not enough.
Cannabis pizza dogs. Just what I need for lunch. That looks so good.
Yeah.
I love hot dogs.
You guys want a donut?
Oh my God.
Donuts. Come have a donut, buddy. That said, I smoke weed because of this. And I'm grateful for this place for being here at an economical price. Because I can't afford a government sort of price point of cannabis, right? So that said, I've been hit in the head a lot. So I've sustained a lot of concussions. When I was young, as a teenager, playing sports, fist fighting with my friends, or just wrestling, fun houses. So I've noticed when I smoke cannabis first thing in the morning, it kind of like jolts my brain up, like it's like a spark, and I feel like awake. I've been smoking cannabis so long and so steady and so regularly now that I don't get stoned, I don't get groggy. For me, with my concussion thing, I get more awake. It wakes me up. So that said, a couple of years ago, a heart attack. It was a stress-related heart attack. You can get a heart attack by having stress. Quit smoking. Done smoking cigarettes. So I started smoking more cannabis because it substituted my need for smoking cigarettes as well, right? So completely helped me with smoking, quit smoking. So I'm grateful for that. And having some place where it's cheaper for that, where I can continue that, it's just good for me.
You've had 310, 310, 160.
Yeah, I want to thank Debbie Hellion for her fine work in interviewing these people. And, if you ever had any doubt that there's a profound difference being made in people's lives with respect to therapeutic cannabinoids, well, I think that the people that we're having here on camera and those that, just come into our store and don't go on camera, they will touch your heart in very profound ways. I dare any of these people that think that we should not be doing what we're doing, or that think that we should wait until we have some sort of a license, or that there should be some restrictions put on us or taxation of what we're doing so the government can get a cut that these people have to pay for. I dare them to come down here and spend an hour and get to see what's going on and who's being helped and how we're helping them and what a difference we can make in their lives. And they will quickly become fans of ours and supporters of ours, and be very ashamed of previous stances on trying to keep people from getting access. So, emotional times. Trudeau, do the right thing, sir. Apologize for the decades of destruction that your war on cannabis and cannabis consumers has resulted in. long overdue. There's a number of apologies long overdue, but this going along with the U.S. war on drugs has cost our society in such dramatic ways. You look out here on the streets of the downtown east side and you realize that most of this is driven by drug prohibition. And the drug prohibition is at the root of what's mostly wrong outside these doors. You've got a lot to apologize for. So I hope that happens down the road. A little bit serious today. You know, it's kind of good that I get to vent how I feel sometimes, but yeah, I'm not happy about the state of affairs that has been going on for all this time, as anybody who knows me knows. It's extremely wrong, and lives are at stake here, and lives have been lost here, and it's time to react properly to the situation, to apologize for the previous attempts to prohibit and restrict the plant medicines and to demonize them and stigmatize the people that use them just to prop up corrupt industries and purveyors of other substances that have caused us all kinds of harm and problems here. So yeah, let's try to move forward and get this right in the days to come. I'm really happy that Pot TV has allowed me this platform to get this stuff off my chest. And there's other Pot TV shows that you should support as well. On Mondays, we have the 420 Lifestyle, which is probably more fun than you can have watching a podcast with Carly Marley and BC Bud Gal. And on Tuesdays, again, I won't be back next week, apparently. And maybe next week there's not going to be the same shows because our producer's taking a week off. So barring some way to do the show without the actual main force behind the show, which is my producer Neil, who I don't thank enough. I don't think we're going to do the show next week. We'll take a week off. But when there is shows, it's Tuesday for the THC show. On Wednesday, it's Greg Williams with From Under the Influence. And Greg's the longest running show on Pot TV, the most insightful and wise person that we have on the airways here, as he dissects the latest interesting things going on within the world of cannabis and legalization and all those types of things. And on Thursday, we have Morning Glory with BC Bud Gal, bright and early. On Fridays, it's Johnny Bud with How's It Growing? And you can tune in to see how it's growing every week, because it grows a little more every week on Johnny's show there. And by it, I mean all the beautiful plants that he's showing us how to grow there. So you can catch up with all the episodes in the archives. And I hope that you have as much fun as you can trying to change the world till we see you again.
Mayor Kennedy Stewart's voicemail of the city of Vancouver.
I'm Carly Marley. Oh, and I'm BC Bud. Sorry. We are going to be doing a phone protest. Did you want to get stoned? Would you like a dab? A bonger? I'm sure there will be doobies on the way. 419. I'm going to get my dab ready.
Fight politically by having the Vancouver City Council give us an emergency license to continue to do business, because we carry products that you can't get anywhere else. And a lot of people, patients and regular customers, just people who smoke cannabis for recreational purposes or as a substitute for dangerous alcohol, tobacco, or other things, they need access to these products, and it's not fair that they can't get them, and it makes no sense to shut them down. It's hurting people to shut them down, and it hurts no one to allow them to remain open.
It's really messed up situation, because a lot of people keep saying, you know, well, it's legal now.
I'm just sad. I've been there almost 2 years. The amount of people that come in with such positive words and impact, it's just a sad day right now. I don't know, it's a community. It's more than just the marijuana industry. It's more than just making that money. Yeah.
The jobs are there for them, but we just are being forced to close.
The mayor had an opioid task force open hearing, and we went and presented the information that shows that dispensaries literally save lives. You know, the more dispensaries that there are functional in areas, the more that opioid deaths come down.
We've been applying for licenses again and again and again, and they refuse us. They won't even give us the proper form to it. And yet somehow other people are being given a license. Yet whenever we ask, the licensing process is closed. I think we should start making some phone calls. Yeah. I'm going to do a dab so I can be nice and high when I call the mayor. Hi there. My name is... Oh, what happened, you guys?
You fucked up,
I fucked up. We got to be polite. I'm calling because I wanted to let you know that I'm in complete disagreement with you closing the existing dispensaries and threatening arrests to do this kind of thing during the opioid crisis when it has been shown that having dispensaries in the area helps decrease opioid overdoses. It's just crazy. It's such a waste of taxpayer resources, all the people that you're putting out of work, and I urge you to please allow dispensaries to get emergency licenses so that they continue to operate. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a good one.
No, wait, you said, and I hope you have a good one.
So, one down. You guys, now it's your turn.
I was like, beep, beep, beep. I'm just calling on behalf of the whole dispensary shutdown. I'm just hoping you can please reconsider your decision and give emergency licenses out to the community so we could all stick together. Thank you. Have a good day. Kind of panicked, but
Nice. Good.
I would hope so.
Then you're all warmed up for your bong rip. Ew, ew.
What flavor are those?
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
No. I was not expecting that.
Good? Yeah.
Oh my god, I literally feel like I'm gonna pass out. This is so fucking gross.
Just look at the lollipop.
Just move your hand for a second. Here, wait, I'll bud cam it.
What? What?
No, I can't do, no. Is that
This is on live on YouTube and Facebook. Pot TV. This channel on iTunes podcast and on.
Is it that foggy outside, or am I just?
I'm scared of everything now. It's just weed. I literally just that was weed that scared me that much.
Are we still banned on YouTube? I'm Marijuana Man. Welcome to From Under the Influence. If they had weed, guaranteed they would make money. That's the only conclusion I can come to, is they don't have any weed. Because people are still going to buy it, for God's sakes. People actually like weed and want to buy weed. And a huge number of people have no choice but to come and buy it from you. And still, you can't make money? Holy fuck. Now what? What are you going to do to us now? When I was even at a very young age, go, wow, like, why would this be illegal? It is so much fun.
Outlawing laughter and feeling good?
Yeah, laughing. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. Peace. And fun.